I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, putting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target! Let's go to Target! We need some PlayStations! Let's go to Target!
I'm in the world, but not of it. I praise God every day and I love it. I say what I want and I say what they want. I stand for the truth and what's right and they don't. Life is simple, it's no puzzle. Common sense will tell you not to wear a muzzle. Fear no evil, trust no people. When in doubt, shout, I'm a believer. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me. I fear no man, though the world is broken. God, shine your light on me.
I offend everybody, the left, right, in the middle. Blame my parents because I've been this way since I was little. It used to be normal, now everybody praying to crystals. No wonder why it's so easy for the devil to trick you. They treat you like dogs, putting muzzles all on your faces, forcing kids to wear them in schools. Doesn't this seem outrageous? They ban Bible scriptures on TikTok.
Let's go to Target! Let's go to Target! We need some PlayStations! Let's go to Target!
Boom. Boom. What up? We just had a Juicy Reacts premiere. I don't think the raid worked. I tried to raid everybody from that over to here. I don't know if it worked. But welcome. It's Monday night. We kicking the week off right. As usual. Crazy week this week. A lot of negative stuff. So we'll start off with the negative stuff. This Bondi Beach, Australia shooting, pretty wild. Another radical Muslim terrorist attack on the Western world. Not surprising. They attacked a Hanukkah celebration. That's wild. That's wild. What was it last year? I don't remember. Last year there was the Darrell Brooks thing at the Christmas parade not too long, 2-3 years ago. But you know, this is pretty horrible what happened out there. Then we got the Syria ISIS attack on the soldiers. Trump's not happy. Are we going to war with Syria? Have we always been at war with Syria? Are we ever not at war with Syria? And then Tyler Robinson in court, first court appearance. They're trying to give him the Luigi Mangione treatment. If you saw like the Luigi Mangione court pictures, they trying to make him look like a GQ model in every picture. He's like GQ photo op in the dang courtroom pictures. So, giving him the Magnum and the smoky eye. He's hitting him with dang blue steel in the courtroom. Meanwhile, Tyler Robinson, they're trying to give him the same treatment. It doesn't quite work because he looks like some sort of creature. So it doesn't come out the same way. That's what we got in all the main stories today. Then there's some big stories in the rapid fire. I've been hyper focused on Epstein for that debate last week. So I don't want to spend too much time looking at this. But some pictures dropped, and the media is doing what the media do, blocking out faces, and the left is doing what the left do, freaking out online and making AI pictures as expected. There's going to be a lot of AI and BS coming out over the next couple weeks as these Epstein files drop. So, and then there's some other stuff in rapid fire. And then the end of the show, I got to prep for another debate. And I'm way behind. Tomorrow morning, I can't be doing Bible streams this week because I got to write. At least tomorrow, I need to write. I need to knock it all out tomorrow morning. But we're going to be looking at Trump's tariffs, an update on Trump's tariffs, getting all caught up on my tariff stuff. I got to get back on the tariff stuff for a minute. So we're going to look at that. That's what we're going to do tonight. All right, you guys ready to go? Okay. All right, this Bondi Beach thing. We'll start with a video, then read some articles, and take a look at this. There it is. All right. Can I make this bigger? Sorry, I'm going to have to mess with the windows to do this. So this is Bondi Beach, Australia. This is a Hanukkah celebration. And some muzzies ran in there with, apparently, in Australia, super strict gun laws, right? This could never happen. If you tighten down gun laws, mass shootings, they'll never happen again. That's what we have to do. Take the guns away. It'll stop the mass shootings. Lock up the parents. Take guns away. Don't worry about the kids in the hood. Just specifically focus on the white parents of white boys. Take their guns away. Don't worry about what's going on in the hood. Let that slide. Just take the guns and lock up the parents of the white kids. Because white kids do all the school shootings, right? But Australia, we do the gun buyback. We tighten up the gun restrictions. And now the guy's already jumping to tighter gun restrictions. Never think of maybe tighter immigration laws. But it's the gun that's the problem. It's not the Muslims killing the Jews on Hanukkah. It's the guns. Let's tighten down on the guns, because these two guys, father and son, like Ahmed and Akbar, we'll see their names when we read the articles. They're not the problem. It's the guns that's the problem. Let's watch this. Where's audio? It's got to be chaotic as fuck, because you don't know where that's coming from. You just hear report. You don't know where that's coming from. It's wild. And I don't know if we're gonna play a bunch of videos, but I guess they're like up on the grass. They're not down walking in the sand. They're just shooting down to the beach and to the street. So that's wild. That's the scene on the beach. And now let's see what's happening with all this. We'll go to CNN, or good old trusty commie news network. Australia's Jewish community saw an attack coming, but no one expected the Bondi Beach horror. This is not supposed to be the first article, because this is now what they're saying. I haven't read this yet, but it's a shocking headline, to say the least. Brisbane, Australia. Australia's deadliest mass shooting in almost 30 years targeted Jewish families on Sydney's Bondi Beach, one of the country's most iconic locations, one of the most festive days of the Jewish calendar. Crowds of people gathered near the beach to celebrate Hanukkah, the Festival of Lights. Instead of one day of Christmas, they have 8 crazy nights. Okay, stop. At an event widely publicized as a Jewish Community Family Festival that promised free donuts and face painting to fill Bondi with joy and light. But an hour before sunset, 2 gunmen, the suspects revealed as a father and son, opened fire from a bridge near Archer Park, a grassy area near the famous beach, as tourists and residents wandered along Campbell Parade, enjoying the final minutes of what otherwise been a glorious Sunday. Said they heard what sounded like fireworks before realizing it was gunfire. Largely unfamiliar sound in Australia, where strict firearm laws mean shootings are rare. The last time this many people were killed was in 1996 at the Port Arthur massacre, when one man armed with multiple weapons opened fire in Tasmania. Sydney, community of around Jewish life in Australia, 120,000 Jewish people in a population of 27 million. Indiscriminate massacre took lives of multiple generations, from a 10-year-old girl to a Holocaust survivor. Dang. That's wild. Bondi's famous white sand beach was promoted, blah, 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 flip-flops to flee bullets and find shelter. Where's this? I want to see where's the headline. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese called the attack an act of evil. There's no place for hate, violence, and terrorism in our nation. Let me be clear. We will eradicate it. Huge public protests in Gaza. There's been a rise in anti-Semitism there lately. The writing was on the wall, said Alex Rivchin, ECAG co-CEO, referring to statistics that show 1,654 reported anti-Semitic attacks reported in Australia last year. What's that in comparison to the average year? I mean, I know they're keeping track on it. This sort of thing was always bound to happen, but at the same time, we're not a country with a high level of gun crime. What just happened? This sort of thing just doesn't happen here. This sort of thing was always bound to happen. This sort of thing just doesn't happen here. This sort of thing was always bound to happen. But at the same time, we're not a country with a high level of gun crime. This sort of thing just doesn't happen. It's an odd statement. Albanese was... So, they make it seem like in the headline there's some conspiracy. They got me to click on it. It worked. On Monday, he listed the action taken based on a report filed by Siegel in July. They include millions of dollars spent on social cohesion projects to upgrades to Jewish museums and education centers. Reviews are underway into the university programs to promote inclusivity for Jewish students and the staff. So this is one of the ways they're addressing it, is more diversity college classes, more tighter, speech restrictions, specifically on anti-Semitism, because that's hate speech. But I don't even, I hate how the article focuses so much on anti-Semitism. And this guy, the prime minister, the politicians, they go up there and they say, we need stricter gun laws and we need stricter control over anti-Semitism. We need to make sure there's no when do they mention, how about there's 2 Muslim terrorists who just wanted to kill a bunch of Jews? How about that? And they would do the same thing to Christians. They have done the same thing to Christians. So, but no focus on that. Let's focus on the guns. Let's focus on anti-Semitism. But don't look at Ahmed and Ahmed, the Muzzies who wanted to kill a bunch of Jews, the terrorists. Yeah, I don't go into the conspiracies that early, Marilyn. That's not smart. See, that's not what a real skeptic does. A real skeptic doesn't automatically jump to Fed, false flag, Fed. Everything's fake. Everything's fake. It's fake. Nobody actually. That's what crazy people do. Now, could I believe that there was some sort of outside, maybe environmental stimuli that pushed these guys to do this thing? Probably. But it could be their ideology. It could be the world. It could be, I don't know, the information they're receiving. Could be some sort of MK Ultra project. I think we're going to see about these guys that I think they were like some sort of military or something. But granted, this you can't just say the Fed. You say the feds. You know this is Australia, right? So the feds in America trained muzzies to do this in Australia? Or do you think similar things that happen in Australia happen in what did I just say? Similar things that happen in America happen in Australia. I think that's more likely that there's Muslim terrorists in both countries, all Western countries, because that's one of their mission statements. Duh. It's in the book. It's in the instruction booklet. Jess, your chat is still from the Juicy stream. Huh? What do you mean? Juicy stream's not live anymore. I don't get it. How's my chat still from the Juicy stream? Oh, on the screen. On the screen, you mean? Yeah, I don't know why that is. Yeah, I don't know why that is. And I don't know how to fix it. I thought it was going to combine both of them. But it's because the premiere was going when I started this stream. And then it was supposed to... I don't know. I don't know how to fix it. I can't do it right now. What's up, Mayhem? The massacre at Bondi Beach marks an unimaginable escalation in violence for a country with one of the world's largest gun homicide rates, where mass shootings are something that happen elsewhere. Strict gun laws mean it's difficult to legally access firearms, but those rules look now. See, now we move on to the guns. So it's the anti-Semitism, then the guns. Anti-Semitism first, then the guns. Is there anything in here about maybe, you know, a lot of immigrants coming from Muslim countries not assimilating and planning terror attacks in the country? No? Is that not an issue here? We were so worried last night that there might be a gunfight and things like that, or because they said in Bondi there are some explosives in the car. Said Padilla of a car found parked on a nearby Campbell Parade in Bondi that had been fitted with several improvised explosive devices. Oh, so police commissioner urged caution against any member of the community who seeks to further unsettle a shaken city with acts to avenge Sunday's shooting. This is time for calm. Who would they be getting revenge on? But the fear now is that the tension the Australia government has been trying to keep from the country's borders will bubble up more aggressively than ever as communities search for answers about what motivated two men to commit such a heinous act and what authorities did or didn't do to stop it. What do you think motivated them? CNN? And this is like it's not like this article happened 5 minutes after it happened, so they don't know who the shooters are yet. They know who the shooters. What do you mean you don't know what their motive is? I'll give you one guess as to what the motive was. Duh. They're Muslims. It was a Hanukkah parade. What do you think the motivation was? Let's see this from Fox.
We've been completely let down by our government. We have been, when I say we,
the Australia Jewish Affairs Council, Diana.
The Jewish community,
Dion.
even some news outlets have been warning the government that this snowball effect was going to happen. And it was only a matter of time before someone got killed. And now 16 people have been killed, 15 of whom are members of our Sydney Jewish community. They've just announced that a 10-year-old girl has fallen victim to her wounds. A little girl innocently going to a Hanukkah festival. A Holocaust survivor is also another person that has fallen victim to his wounds, and other rabbis, and they haven't named the other victims.
I have a feeling that they probably have an aversion to bacon, Mayhem. What do you think the odds are that they would not want a bacon cheeseburger?
But this has been a snowball effect, as I said. It started with hate speech. It's then moved to graffiti, public demonstrations.
No, it started with a religious war 1,400 years ago because a sect of people decided that They were going to kill anybody who didn't believe in Allah. That's when it started. That's the motivation here.
Other anti-Semitic attacks included firebombing of synagogues,
This is
schools.
this is the same thing when October 7th happened. They're like, we don't know the motivation could be political. It could be tensions with food and the oppression that the Israel has had on Gaza and the Palestine, blah blah blah. It's like, no, the motivation is it's a holy war. It's been happening for 1,000 years. What do you mean? What's the motivation?
People's homes, people's cars, and now murder.
Like
Jewish community does not
intifada.
feel safe. We have not felt safe for a very long time. We have not had the support from New South Wales Police or from our local or federal government. On October 9, when there was a demonstration on the Sydney Opera House that saw widespread media attention, where there were hundreds of people screaming, "Gas the Jews," as a community, we were told to stay home. It's not safe to go out. And it has just continued month after month. This time last year, we had a spate of anti-Semitic attacks that were truly atrocious, mostly being the firebombing in Melbourne, the synagogue, and Sydney childcare centres and people's homes. And the warnings have been shared with the government. Our special envoy to combat anti-Semitism produced a very lengthy and well thought out document for the government to adopt, and it was taken into consideration but never implemented.
I hate that they call it anti-Semitism and they don't call it what it is. It's Muslim terrorists trying to kill Jews. It's not, because anti-Semitism, now it becomes a thing that anybody who says anything about a Jewish person is anti-Semitic. This is not anti-Semitism. They hate the infidel. This is infidelitism. They hate you. They hate the Christians. They want to kill you. But when you call it anti-Semitism, instead of calling it what it is, which is a religious holy war, it's an ideological. They hate you because their God did not choose, because you didn't choose their God. That's why they hate you.
We receive empty messages from our government that there's no place for anti-Semitism in Australia. This is a one line that they like to use regularly, but it's empty promises and no action.
No, say there's no place for Muslim terrorists in our country. Not there's no place for anti-Semitism. There's no place for Muslim terrorists in any country except for Muslim country in the desert somewhere. Let them have their, let them have their little plot in the sand. But in civilized countries, there's no place for Muslim terrorism. Not there's no place for guns. Not there's no place for anti-Semitism. There's no place for Muslim radical terrorists.
There's been a number of situations that have led to the complete
How long is
erasure of
this?
social cohesion here.
I'm not going to watch this whole thing. What's NBC saying? Okay, so this I said we're gonna watch more videos. This is the video of the guy running up. Hero seen disarming Bondi Beach attacker undergo surgery for gunshot wounds. So he runs up behind this dude, and these dudes, you could tell these dudes are fat, lazy. They're not, because all this guy does, this is just like a big random guy, and he runs around, grabs him, takes the gun out of his hand. But then he stands in the open with the gun pointed at the one guy. And now one of the shooters is dead. I don't know if the guy who took the gun from him fires a shot. I don't think he does. But I don't know if he's the one who killed the guy who he took the gun from. But then the other guy's on the bridge, and he's not got cover. Maybe he doesn't know there's a second shooter. I don't know. But I guess he like kind of stands in the open, and he gets shot twice by the guy on the bridge. But this is pretty crazy. Let's watch this.
See the man in white there running up and tackling that suspected gunman. There is a struggle, and you
see, it's not like either of them are athletic. Like, they're both just goofy fat guys, But, well, this guy's a hero now. He's not goofy. But, I mean, I'm saying he didn't, like, run up and, like, do some ninja moves on him. He just grabbed him by the shoulders and pulled the gun out of his hand. Like, and the guy's like, oh, and falls over. These are not, like, military. Well, they might have been in the military at some point in their life, but they're you know, it's crazy. But he gets the gun out of his hand, points it at him. I don't think he shoots, but this guy did end up dead. I think they captured the other guy, the son, the older guy, the dad. I think he did. But I don't think this guy shoots him. I don't know. Maybe he does. Sliding in like a slide.
Can see he appears to wrestle what looks like a shotgun out of that man's hands.
But now he's standing. He has no cover. The other guy's over here on a bridge. He starts firing at
the
him.
individual in white has not at this point been identified, but local leaders are hailing what they say.
See, now you're just going to let him walk away?
They were extraordinary acts of personal courage by people who just jumped in.
Now he holds up a thumbs up. Also, cops are coming. You need to get that gun out of your hand, first off, because, well, I'm gonna actually have a moment of grace here because this guy, based off his name, sounds like he might be maybe Muslim too, or at least he's Middle Eastern. You'll see here shortly, but so I don't know if he's Muslim, but I guess this area is a lot of like Middle Eastern people. Well, Israel, and you got Muslims and Israel people, Jewish people living together in Australia in Bondi Beach. Interesting.
At the scene, it is very likely that that man saved.
Okay, so he sets the gun down. Smart move. Yeah. You don't want to be holding that when the police roll up.
Lives by appearing to disarm that gunman. We know that at least 29 people were taken to hospital.
Then this guy runs up and throws a rock at him, and dude starts shooting from the bridge.
Among them are 2 police officers.
So he shoots, boom, boom. He shoots 3 times from the bridge.
Authorities are saying police were on the scene and
there he is on the bridge. Now he's shooting at the guy who just took the gun.
Engaging in a gun battle with these shooters within just minutes. Police are also saying that they found a car linked to the killed gunman, which does appear to contain improvised explosives.
Infidelitism. That's worth a super chat. Thank you. Let's go. Nice. We appreciate the super chats, y'all, and hit the like button.
Devices. Now, the bomb squad there in Sydney is probing that vehicle. They are looking for more.
Now, I don't know if the vehicle is related. Probably.
Clues. They are looking for more details.
Could have been the getaway plan, jump in a vehicle and go drive into something and just blow up.
About the motives. And Willie, a massive police investigation is now underway, but we can already say at this point that this is one of the worst gun massacres in Australian history.
Damn. Ahmed Al-Ahmed, a 43-year-old fruit shop owner, was praised for his bravery after a video circulated showing him tackling one of the shooters to the ground. President Donald Trump called him very, very brave, while New South Wales Premier Chris Minns described Ahmed as a real-life hero who saved many lives. Authorities have declared the shooting a terrorist act. There we go. Finally, saying it was intended to target Jewish people. Surprise. Police said a 50-year-old man and his 24-year-old son carried out the attack during a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach, killing at least 15 people in Australia's deadliest mass shooting in nearly 3 decades. I've heard 16. At first, I was seeing 11. Now I'm seeing 16. Video verified by NBC News appears to show multiple shooters, and the moment the man holding the gun is disarmed by Ahmed. In the footage, Ahmed crouches behind a parked car before rushing one of the alleged shooters from behind. After a brief struggle, he wrestles the weapon away. The shooter then backs away before Ahmed places the weapon beside a palm tree. The video appears to show a shootout continuing moments later as the second gunman standing on the bridge fires repeatedly toward people attempting to intervene. Ahmed was taken to Sydney's St. George Hospital with bullet wounds, where he was pictured chatting with Minns from his hospital bed, his arm wrapped in a cast. Incredible bravery. No doubt more lives would have been lost. This is the same from another, that's the same video. I thought I had more videos of this. Where am I? I did have more videos. Where the heck did they go? Hold on. idiots. Where did I save that? Drone video. There's one video where somebody's got a camera and he's very close to him like the whole time. There's drone footage. So here's the guy on the bridge. Looks like there's somebody laying there incapacitated on the bridge. Oh, you can't see what? Yeah, you can. Okay.
חג שמח.
חג שמח.
חג שמח, חנוכה שמח. אור, שמחה, ברכה לכל עם ישראל בעזרת השם.
אמן.
גזין.
You cannot use that this time.
חג שמח.
חג שמח.
חג שמח, חנוכה.
I can't find that other video. I don't know why it's not in here. Hold on one second. See, I think it's this one, but I don't want to watch this. Okay, we'll watch this one and then we'll talk about the Syria thing. Hold on. Distressing content. Are these people on the beach? That looks like blood, and that looks like a person. That looks like blood, and that looks like a person. Are these just people laying on the beach? Oh, no, that's a towel blowing in the wind. These are just bags. Gunman opened fire on the So I think they're up here. Well, where's the bridge at? Trying to see where this bridge is. Where are the shooters?
You can't get us. You have to go.
Over here. Footage shows the massive scene after the deadly. There's one video that I thought I had in here and now I don't know where it is, but this guy's got like a phone and he's like behind the shooter and I guess maybe he can't. I don't know. I don't know if he's just trying to get the footy or what. Sounds like he has somebody with him. Instead of just running away, he's like staying close behind the guy and like duck down behind stuff and like kind of following him. And can't find that video. All right, now you get a timeout, Marilyn. I've told you 1,000 times. Nobody cares. You don't need to say goodbye. You don't need to announce you're leaving to go watch another show. Just get the fuck out. Don't do that. I guess it doesn't matter that I time her out when she's gone. Good riddance.
Bro, there's a shooting up on there.
Oh, damn. It's still going on.
God, keep going.
Why is he laughing?
What the hell, Yonte? Bro, there's actual shooting up on there right now. Listen, that's not good.
Right.
Why is he laughing? What is he laughing at? Anyway, that's what happened down there. Pretty crazy. Let's move on to what happened in Syria. 2 soldiers killed. From BBC, 2 U.S. soldiers and a U.S. civilian interpreter have been killed in Syria in an ambush by an Islamic State gunman. I thought this was a typo. 3 Americans killed by IS gunmen. It's ISIS, Islamic State, but maybe that's like an abbreviation, I guess. What's ISIS, Islamic State, Islamic State? Imagine if we had guns, though. Probably wouldn't have been more than 2 dead. Oh, are you in Australia? Yeah, it's crazy, man. Yeah, if a couple people there had guns, yep. U.S. President Donald Trump wrote on social media that it was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria and said there would be a very serious retaliation. Syria's president sent condolences to Trump after the attack. On Sunday, Trump said 2 of the injured American personnel have been released from the hospital. I'm gonna watch Trump's speech, and then we'll read one more article about it because they're Iowa National Guard soldiers. But let's watch Trump giving a speech on it.
I want to just pay my respects to the people. Unfortunately, 2 are no longer with us. Brown University, 9 injured, and 2 are looking down on us right now from heaven.
Brown University is a different shooting, right? This is Syria, Stark Syria warning. So I don't even have the Brown University story in my folder for today, in my files for today. But that happened too. So if we have any extra time, we'll look at that. Even Ware's old mate who wrestled that gun from one of the shooters didn't pull the trigger. If he did, he would have been in jail. Damn. That's what I was asking earlier. I was like, I don't think, because the dad is dead, right? So the cops must have killed the dad, but why would the cops kill the dad if he's already been disarmed? I thought maybe the guy shot him. Or is the son dead? Which one turned out dead? And I'm guessing cops killed him. Cops maybe killed the son because maybe he still had a gun in his hand. I'm not sure.
And likewise in Australia, as you know, that was a terrible attack. 11 dead, 29 badly wounded. And that was an anti-Semitic attack, obviously. And I just want to pay my respects to.
See, why don't you say that was a Muslim terror attack instead of saying that was an anti-Semitic attack? The son is in custody and the dad's dead. So who shot the dad? I guess cops shot the dad after he was already disarmed. I don't care. I'm not like gangster, get it, but that's interesting. Unless he had another gun on him. But no, he would have pulled it. I don't know.
Everybody. I must say in Syria also, we had an attack in Syria, and we had 3 great patriots terminated by bad people, and not the Syrian government. It was ISIS. Syrian government fought by our side. The new president fought by our side. But I just want to pay my respects to the families. We also had 3 injured, but 2 of them are already out of the hospital, and one's going to be okay. But we lost 3, so it was a rough day. But to Australia and
yeah, rough day. So Bondi, the Brown shooting, and the Syria thing all happened like the same day. Yeah, they got seasonal depression, these terrorists. They don't like Christmas.
the Prime Minister
And Hanukkah.
to everybody that we know so well, we get along with so well. We have a great relationship. That's a terrible situation going on over there. Think of that. And Brown University, great school.
I know. Shut that
really
kid
one of
up.
the greatest school.
Get that baby out of here. Remember, Rome, you ever see JLP in his church when a baby starts crying? He's like, one time he said, somebody killed the baby. Kill the baby. He said, "Get that baby out of here. What are you doing?"
Anywhere in the world, things can happen. So to the 9 injured, get well fast, and to the families of those 2 that are no longer with us, I pay my deepest regards and respects from the United States of America. Thank you very much. It's a very important thing to say, and we mean it. I can tell you in Syria, there will be a lot of damage done to the people that did it. They got the person, the individual person, but there'll be big damage done. And the other, supposedly, they call him a person of interest, so I'll keep it along those lines so we don't get ourselves in any trouble, but they have a person of interest at Brown. And in Australia, you probably read, there's been a very, very brave person, actually, who went and attacked frontally one of the shooters and saved a lot of lives. So very brave person who's right now in the hospital, pretty seriously wounded. So great respect to that man that did that. But we're here for a different reason. We're here to celebrate Christmas and to celebrate, and I think today we can say loudly, we celebrate Hanukkah, because that was such a horrible attack. That was a purely anti-Semitic attack. And to really celebrate the new year, we have an amazing...
Every time they say anti-Semitic, replace that with Muslim terrorist attack.
Couple of achievements. We've taken in more investment money than any country has ever taken in by 4 times. There's never been anything like it.
Since 2018. Shocker.
And I like to say that was because of the November 5th election, but and it was to an extent, because without the November 5th election, you would have had a president that didn't have the courage to use tariffs the way they should be used. And because of the tariffs, we've taken in more than think of this, $18 trillion. There's never been anything like it. As an example.
I have numbers, and I'm seeing like $325 billion, but okay, we'll have to check that claim. I don't know where he's getting 18 trillion from.
Example, the previous administration, Sleepy Joe Biden, took in less than 1 trillion in 4 years. We took in more than 18 trillion in 10 months. I'd say that's pretty good, right? I'd say that.
For later, I'm gonna look that up.
That's very good. And if you go back into history, there's never been a country that's taken in more than $3 trillion, and we have over 18. That's, again, because they don't want to pay tariffs. So in order not to pay tariffs, they come in and they build their plant in the United States. It's pretty simple. And it's been pretty amazing, actually.
But who works in their plants? Do we have to have immigrants work in their plants? They're going to hire immigrants into their plants. We have to bring in immigrant workers for them to work in it, or do Americans get to work in those plants? If Americans are working in those plants, then good plan. I like it. I like the strategy. Okay, so Iowa National Guard soldiers identified as victims in deadly Syria ISIS attack. 2 soldiers and an interpreter. U.S. troops were killed and injured in Saturday's ambush attack in Syria, where members of the Iowa National Guard, a senior U.S. official told Fox News, an ISIS gunman opened fire with an automatic weapon, probably an AK, in the central Syrian town of Palmyra, killing 2 Iowa National Guard soldiers and an American civilian translator. The official said 3 additional U.S. soldiers were wounded in the attack. Preliminary information suggests the attacker was once affiliated with the Syrian government forces and had been a low-level member of the Syrian security forces before later becoming connected to ISIS, the official said. He was not part of the official delegation that was being escorted by the U.S. and Syrian troops, the official said. This would not be considered a green-on-blue incident because the Syrian government was not part of the U.S.-Syrian partner delegation. So it's just it's not one of the like Syrian soldiers out there. It's just some random ISIS crazy guy. Earlier Saturday, U.S. Central Command confirmed the deaths and injuries were a result of an ambush by a lone ISIS gunman in Syria. President Donald Trump warned there will be very serious retaliation following the ambush. We mourn the loss of 3 great American patriots in Syria, 2 soldiers and 1. We just listened to this. Pray for 3 injured soldiers. This was an ISIS attack against the U.S. in Syria in a very dangerous part of Syria that is not fully controlled by them. Last month, 2 West Virginia National Guard members were ambushed and shot near the White House in Washington, D.C. in a targeted attack that left 1 soldier dead. Muslim terrorist. And what's crazy is CSIS is going to say that that's right-wing violence. That counts as right-wing violence across the world because they're Muslims, and radical religious people are right-wing. Which is true, like theocrats and Muslim theocracies, Christian theocracies are right-wing. But that's still kind of skewing the numbers you're counting. They're not doing it because of their political leanings. They're doing it because of their religious leanings. So that shouldn't count. There's not very many left-wing Muslims, but yeah, shouldn't be counting that as political violence. That's religious terrorism. Shouldn't be in the same category with political terrorism. So that's what happened in Syria. I think this is just more of the same video talking about Trump's speech. I'm not really interested in that. I wanted to look at what Al Jazeera is saying, what the Muslim News Network is saying. Syria arrests 5. Trump vows retaliation after Americans killed in an attack. Trump blames ISIL or ISIS as the U.S. military says the lone gunman was engaged and killed after the attack in Syria's Palmyra. Syria has arrested 5 people suspected of having links to a shooting attack on United States and Syrian troops that killed 3 Americans. Syria's Interior Ministry confirmed the arrests on Sunday, a day after the attack in the central town of Palmyra, as U.S. President Donald Trump promised to inflict significant damage on those responsible. I can tell you in Syria, there will be a lot of big damage. Big damage. A day earlier, Trump had pledged to pursue serious retaliation against ISIS after the ambush in central Syria killed 2 American soldiers and 1 civilian interpreter. An investigation is underway to determine whether the attacker was linked to ISIL. They're calling it ISIL. I don't know. Al Jazeera is calling it ISIL. You did say you were leaving. You said there's a lot of good shows on. I'm hopping. Or something like that. The attack on U.S. forces was the first to inflict casualties since the fall of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad a year ago. 3 U.S. military members were injured in the attack, as well as at least 2 Syrian soldiers, according to government and media reports. Trump said in social media posts that he received confirmation that the injured soldiers were doing well. He warned, however, that there will be serious consequences for what he describes as an ISIL attack. This was an ISIS attack against the U.S. and Syria, and very dangerous. We already read that. Let it be known, if you target Americans anywhere in the world, you will spend the rest of your brief, anxious life knowing the United States will hunt you, find you, and ruthlessly kill you. Hegseth wrote on social media. Dang, Pete, calm down, Pete. I just wish they would call it what it is instead of calling it anti-Semitism. You know? But anyway, that's that. Last story in the main story news, Tyler Robinson's in court. This is 10 minutes long. I'm not watching this whole thing. Tyler Robinson, the man accused of killing conservative podcast. This is from justjared.com. I don't know if that's I don't know who that is, but Charlie Kirk made his first appearance in court. Now they're trying to get a mistrial because they're saying if they show his shackles cannot be shown on camera. There's a camera in the courtroom in a media pit. And there's a limited number of media that can be there, and the camera's not allowed to show any family members or any audience members, and it's not allowed to show the shackles or his handcuffs. None of that is allowed to be shown on camera. So like at one point you can see his shackles in the court video, and they're saying that has to get thrown out and the camera needs to be moved, and They're good. They're trying to get like some mistrial or something. Doing all. I say, screw all that. Make him go up there in his county oranges. But so they're trying to do this. You know, they ask, I want to wear my normal clothes in court because they want to look more human. They want to make you look more human for the court of public opinion. Don't let them see the shackles. And they take all these flattering pictures in the courtroom and then they post them on social media. They're doing this with Luigi Mangione. All of his pictures, I was saying earlier, he's doing Magnum and Blue Steel. He's trying to look like a GQ model up there. They're trying to do the same thing with Robinson. They take pictures from like good angles and like professional photoshops. Looks like dang, what's the place where you could get your family portrait done? Oh, I can't remember what it's called, but the big popular one. They try to take all these flattering pictures of him, making him look like Luigi Mangione. It's not working because he looks like some sort of reptilian creature. It's not working. I don't think there's audio. Is this USA Today? There's no audio for 10 minutes? I need audio. I want to hear what he's saying. Yeah, this kid looks like the shooter type. Seeing this kid... Is there no audio on any of this? The alleged Charlie Kirk shooter Tyler Robinson appeared calm during his first in-person court hearing. However, lip reading suggests he reflected darkly on the shooting and even referenced Kirk's widow, Erica Kirk. The 22-year-old is said to have described his mental struggles behind bars, saying that he thinks about the shooting every day. Tyler Robinson faces multiple severe charges, including aggravated murder. He surrendered after a search and allegedly confessed to the shooting of Charlie Kirk in messages to his roommate. This is not the right thing. Lip readers reveal Tyler Robinson's chilling off-mic remarks during first in-person court appearance. Caught in an unsettling off-mic exchange in which he seemingly reflected on the fatal shooting. During his first in-person court appearance in Provo, Utah, Robinson appeared calm, even sharing brief laughs and smiles with his attorney. But according to a lip-reading analysis by Lip Reader Limited, his private comments were far darker. I think about the shooting every day, Robinson appeared to tell his lawyer before the hearing began, every morning, all the time. According to the lip reader, he then seemed to reference Erica Kirk, who is now raising the couple's 2 young children alone. So he had a wife. What? The suspected shooter said at the moment. Robinson also allegedly talked about his mental state behind bars, saying he has been smoking a lot and struggling with sleepless nights. Smoking a lot in Provo County Jail? That doesn't make any sense. You can't smoke in county in Utah. He was not in prison yet. He's in county because he's going to court. Court appearance in Provo, Utah. How is he smoking in county jail? You can't smoke in Utah county jails. Huh. That's weird. Unless they're like holding him in the prison, but that's not the way that works. He would be in Did you hear about the deaf gynecologist? He could read lips. How's he smoking in Provo County Jail? So and also, what do you mean? So he had a wife? He didn't know he had a wife? It's driving me mental, he appeared to add, per the New York Post. I'm not good for anything. Yeah, I would agree with that.
When we can show it, and there you see Tyler Robinson now as the attorney steps away for this preliminary hearing. We've got an all-star lineup of guests ready to break down what happens during the day today. Let's go first of all to our correspondent, Matt Finn. He's outside the courthouse in Provo, Utah. Set the table for us, Matt.
Well, John, this is the first time we are physically seeing Tyler Robinson in court on your screen right now. And I believe the woman in the hair clip who is facing away from the camera is his lead attorney, Catherine Nestor. This is the first time he is in person in court here in Utah County. He has appeared virtually a few times before. And now outside of that courtroom that you're looking at right now, fierce, intense security. Several city blocks cordoned off. All types of police in every direction. And a short while ago, we saw a very large police caravan arriving to the courthouse, going into the Sally Port, and a massive armored vehicle in the middle of that caravan, who we can assume was perhaps Mr. Robinson being delivered to this court.
No, you can't legally do drugs in court. I mean, in county. No, you can't. You can illegally do stuff all the time. That doesn't mean you can do it. You can do it and get illegally. You think he's got? You're so dumb.
Courthouse. Some of the doors are zip tied, so all types of measures being taken
these
to
ladies
make sure
off my stream. Why is there a bra ad on my stream? Sorry, y'all. Hold on. It's not making it better.
This proceeding happens safely and securely today. Now, on the docket today, perhaps one of the most important issues, there was an October 24th hearing in which Judge Graff determined Robinson will be allowed to wear civilian clothing in court, as you see on your screen right now, but he has to remain shackled. Now, also in that October 24th hearing, general security measures and other issues of fairness in this trial were discussed in a closed portion that both the defense and prosecution requested remain private. The judge here granted the request that portions of that October 24th hearing be sealed. But then an attorney for the media.
Yeah, I think I watched the October 24th court thing live. So what did they seal? We'll watch this, but first I want to read from the body language expert. So we got the lip readers. What's the body language expert saying? The county watched as Charlie Kirk's accused assassin made his first in-person court appearance. Tyler Robinson showed up in formal clothes, no visible restraints. Well, they did, because there's another article. I don't have it, I don't think. For some reason, these aren't working, but they were complaining they need some of the video sealed because you could see his shackles. They don't want you to see his shackles. And that's why they wanted to seal that other video, too, because he's wearing the green vest. He did not speak, but cameras captured his facial expressions and demeanor as he sat in court. 2 News asked a body language expert to break down what he saw. Scott Roos is a renowned body language expert who trains law enforcement and attorneys. He's also an interrogator. He said Robinson's apparent lack of concern stood out to him. He said it's got him locked into this case, and he's very interested in what we might learn about Robinson as it progresses. During the hearing, Robinson had a little smile or two while talking with his lawyers. That's the only thing I looked and went, he shouldn't be doing that, Rouse said. He said Robinson's laughing wasn't a good look for someone who's accused of murder. He tells attorneys it's okay for their clients to have a pleasant look on their face, but this might have been too far. I don't know what could be found funny during that situation, Roos said. It would be a little tough for me to think something up, but apparently they're trying to alleviate some of the stress for him. Their body language isn't the type where you want to get close to them or you're touching. They're not leaning the way they should lean if they knew him really well. I don't see any connection with them. So he's saying that the body language between Robinson and his attorneys doesn't seem like they're very familiar with each other. So she's a public pretender, right? She probably barely even shows up. She's probably shown up to the jail twice to talk to him through glass. That could be their first time meeting physically. Rouse said you can't. All in all, Roos didn't see much out of the ordinary for a proceeding like this. He did see at least one thing missing, the grief muscle. These 2 muscles pull together, and this muscle pulls down, Roos said, pointing to the area on his forehead right above his nose. I don't see any of that. I don't see any grief muscle that lets us know he's really, really worried about anything and no concern. So that's what the body language experts are saying. I guess we'll just watch this video.
His first in-person court appearance today. And while a camera was in the courtroom to capture the appearance, news specialist Andrew Adams learns that his defense wants to block that access in the future. Andrew?
Tyler Robinson's attorneys alluded to
This is the story I was talking about. So they're trying to say no more cameras. But Erica Kirk and the world want this to be televised. I think it's possible they televised a public execution of him. Erica asked for that, which is pretty based. You know, I may have other gripes, but pretty base that she's asking for a public trial and a public execution. Assuming he's guilty, allegedly.
motion they expected to file after the first of the year that would ask for no camera.
We got firing squad in Utah.
Already, media and public access is a significant issue in this case. In fact, shortly after Robinson showed up to court in a soft blue shirt and tie, the judge asked the public and media to leave while he and attorneys sorted out what could be made public from a hearing clear back in October. While we don't know exactly what the testimony was in that hearing, lawyers say arguments surrounded security issues as well as privacy and fair trial rights. Despite over 2 hours of arguments we weren't able to see, the judge said he needed more time before making an oral ruling in the case, and he pledged to do that in an online hearing later this month. Now, Robinson's defense has argued for restrictions on media coverage.
Kid's weird, dude.
It has the potential to prejudice potential jurors.
This kid is just weird, dude. And how old is he? Look, he's balding up top.
And while we heard from the defense in court today that lawyers were planning to file a motion asking for no
creepy kid
cameras in the courtroom, media lawyers remain skeptical the judge would grant that.
Very punchable face.
We don't think that's appropriate at all. I mean, the cameras rule exists for a reason, and the only basis to prophylactically ban all cameras would be this assertion that it's just impossible to get a fair trial if a case has any kind of pretrial publicity, and that's just not the law.
The judge did rule on one matter today, and that was on a gag order that's in place. He further defined a witness in the case as somebody the prosecution or defense reasonably expected to be called to testify at trial. Now, the state had argued the order was overly broad in that regard. A lot of business was settled right at the end of court today. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, was recognized officially as a victim's representative in the case, and multiple hearings were scheduled out into the new year, up to a preliminary hearing, which was set for May. Of course, next up is that online hearing on December 29th, where the judge is expected to rule on what should be public from that October hearing, as well as the ability of the media to argue access issues in this case. Back to the studio.
All right, we'll continue to track.
All right. I think that's all I got on him. But nothing too crazy there. Nothing too crazy there. Just keep me updated on that trial. Must be your age. I don't know what that means. All right. What else we got? I don't really have much memes. I only got like 5 memes. This girl? Oh, okay. 1 second. How do I, oh. Sorry, guys. Give me one moment. Okay. This is an old one. This isn't even a good meme. This is just... Hold on. It's time for the meme. All right. Meme time. If Elon Musk has $221 billion and there's only 8 billion of us in the world, why doesn't he give all of us $1 billion? The math doesn't math. The math. Do the math. You ain't got the answers. I've been doing the education.
You ain't got the answers, man. I've been doing this more than you. You ain't been doing the education.
Next. The most dangerous addiction today, and this is not a meme. This is just an extra news story for you. The most dangerous addiction today isn't a substance. Research on 100,000 people confirms they have short-form video use is just voluntary Research on 100,000 people confirms that heavy short-form video use is just voluntary cognitive decline. We are actively training our brains to fail at hard tasks. If you can simply sit with a problem for 10 minutes without swiping, you have a massive competitive advantage. Basically, boredom is the new IQ. So this is a psychological bulletin. This is a thing they came out with that said basically TikTok and short form video is making people dumber, and it's addictive, and it's more harmful to your brain than a lot of other addictions. Shocker. Who could have guessed that? Who said that? Who's been saying this for years? Everybody who has half a brain. Duh. Next. Wait, two mentals don't make a non-mental. Next. White diversity. I think we've shown this meme before. Anyway, this is white. Look at all the colors of the rainbow. Diversity. It all looks the same. Next. You've heard of Elf on the Shelf, but are you ready for Gimp on a Shrimp? Are you ready for Gimp on a Shrimp?
Why are you gay?
Gimp.
Beta.
Next. Liberal women on killing people. Drug smugglers on a boat? No. Baby in the womb? Maybe I can see, Next. Wait.
Beta.
Next. This is not even a meme either. I haven't fact checked this, so I don't know if this is a real story, but this was like I think it's a real story. New sex for rent agreements become popular in Canada. A truly shocking number of sex for rent listings can be found. So you get to rent a house or an apartment, ladies, and all you got to do is put out. I thought this was interesting because I've heard this hypothetical brought up before in what are they usually debating? Oh, they're debating like prostitution. If you're having like a prostitution legalization debate, people are like, well, prostitution should be legal. And you say, do you think that it should be legal for like a landlord to be like, you don't have to pay rent. You just have sex with me. And if they're good faith, they'll just agree and they'll say, yeah, that should be legal. That should be fine. And apparently in Canada, they're doing it. Wow.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Next. There's a picture my mom posted of Echo when he was a little boy. That's not a meme either. Look how young he is. That's 8 years ago. At this time, he was like 4 years old. He's got a little gray on his snout, but he looks so much younger. All right, next. So this is not a meme either. See, I don't really have any memes today. I just have other news stories and stuff. But this is what we're going to talk about next here in Rapid Fire News. I put it in Rapid Fire because I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But they dumped like 16. There's 9 days left before, quote unquote, all the files, the Epstein files, are going to come out. And they did a little photo dump. And this is one of the photos that they put out. And they put it out redacted like this. And then they put out an unredacted version. But the one the media ran with is this one, where all these faces are blacked out. And so all these lefties on X are like, oh my God, here's Trump with all these underage women. They had to block out their faces because they're victims. No, these aren't victims. These are Miss Universe contestants. When Trump first got Miss Universe, this was on the cover of a newspaper. This was a newspaper. This is a picture in a magazine in a newspaper. It's Trump standing. This girl right here actually won Miss Universe that year. So we'll look at that in Rapid Fire. But that's it for the memes. I don't got a lot of memes today. Where the heck is okay. I told you I don't have a lot of memes. We do have some funny reels, though, and then we'll talk about the Epstein photo drop stuff. Just one moment. All right. We got some funny reels. And then we got rapid fire news. And then we're just going to take a while and do a tariff recap of what's been going on with these tariffs. And are they socialist? Is tariffs socialist? There's arguments for both sides. We're going to look at that. Are tariffs a socialist thing? Or are they capitalist? What, Eldon? All right. Funny reels, though, first. We got to have some funny, right? Look at this. This is the first black gangster to go to prison.
Up, y'all, it's
woman.
My pleasure to introduce the first female member to the crew, motherfucking Riblet.
Hey, what's up? My name is Riblet. Got my name because, you know, one time I accidentally ate some human ribs.
This girl's been locked up in the men's penitentiary for 5 fucking years.
They took me out of the women's prison because I'm too dangerous, so they took me in the men's prison.
Riblet stabbed my mother on Father's Day. That bitch is hard as fuck.
How did you rape a
That
guy
bitch is hard as
prison?
fuck.
You want to find out, nigga?
Them niggas don't shut the fuck up.
How did you rape a guy in prison? You want to find out?
His ass gonna get raped.
I got dildos galore, my nigga. They put me in the hole because I was putting dildos in the men's hole. Booty holes. Yo, in art class, I just made dildos all day. Big dildos, brown dildos, white dildos.
Yeah. And the good thing our taxpayers' money is going to giving these niggas arts and crafts in motherfucking prison.
You know you can sharpen a dildo and it becomes a shiv.
Riblet, for you being out, for you being one of my G-ass niggas,
Good, nigga.
I bought you this shed to live in because I know you ain't got no place to stay.
I bought you this shed to live in.
My nigga!
Yeah.
My nigga!
You know what I'm saying?
Yo, Leon got me the illest, dopest, fattest fucking shit.
I put a bed in there. I got a TV. There's a TV in there. Check out your house. This is unbelievable. Taking people from the streets and putting them in homes. Yes, it's a nigga living in a shed. But you know what? Niggas lived in sheds back in the golden days. It was called slavery.
Oh, the golden days. Okay. What is this one? Okay, there we go. We got a short one. Pun intended.
Must be pretty easy with no defender.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. What else we got? Christmas songs in the library.
Balls in your jaws, bitch. Deck the halls with my balls in your jaws, bitch. Balls in your jaws. Can I put my balls in your jaws, bitch? Balls in your jaws.
Oh, did you guys hear that?
Yes, we did, sir.
Oh my
Yes, we did,
God.
sir.
That's embarrassing. I'm leaving.
Fuck. Okay. Let's see this guy whoop a kangaroo's ass.
Not beating a kangaroo. A quick reminder to whoever needs it. You're not beating a kangaroo in a fight.
Yes, I am.
Get a boot. He's whooping this kangaroo's ass. I don't know why that's in there. He's just whooping a kangaroo's ass. Okay. Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus. This is a big pterodactyl. This is a dragon. Hold on. Favorite dinosaur. Quetzalcoatlus.
Your favorite dinosaur's a T-Rex? Well, that's nuts. My favorite dinosaur's a Quetzalcoatlus.
It's a dragon.
That's technically a pterosaurs, well enormous celadon, praying ancient Texas order, pray they hunches well evolved. More horrific megafauna, telling you was never born. Take a tank on steroids and some bad giraffe and pentagon.
Take some tanks on steroids and a bat giraffe.
The Cretaceous till the dragon slaying active gods.
Dragon slaying act of God. See, it was a dragon.
It's a lizard that's a play, bro.
It's a lizard that's a plane, bro.
Let me take one of the haters, though.
Quetzalcoatlus. That was in the new Jurassic Park movie. Anyway, that's all the funny reels I got for you. Anyway. All right. More Epstein stuff. Eye roll. Here we go again. What do we got this time? What kind of bogus rumors do we have to sift through now? AI pictures coming out. With AI, that's another reason that these Epstein files, it's not a good time. With AI, nothing's going to be real. Unredacted Trump photos from Epstein files dump reveal glamorous group of adult models. He was very gentlemanly. So this is the unredacted photo. This is what they put out first. The redacted image first released. Then they come out and they put this one out because everybody's like, yo, Why do you put this out redacted when this was on a newspaper? Everybody knows what this is from. You put it out redacted. People think these are underage victims of Trump and Epstein, when really it has nothing to do with. This is at a Miss Universe. The faces of 5 Hawaiian tropic models Donald Trump was seen posing with were redacted in the trove released by the House Oversight Committee on Friday. They're Hawaiian tropic models, and they're at a Miss Universe thing. And this chick ends up winning the contest. This blonde girl. They're all above age, and they all said he was a gentleman. One woman pictured in a black and white image with the future president and 5 other glamorous ladies in Hawaiian lease. Oh, the lead. Those are the flower things. Said he was a gentleman who went out of his way to make sure the group enjoyed their evening at Mar-a-Lago. I don't remember much of that. She told Telegraph, I was 22 years old and remember him being very nice. He was very gentlemanly. That's the word to describe him. The outlet reported the women were models representing the Hawaiian Tropic, the American suntan lotion brand at the event's Trump's Florida new home. Where did I read that it was Miss Universe? Because that's what the other article that I read said. Or one of them later won a Miss Universe pageant. In another picture apparently taken on a private jet, Trump is seen with his tie loosened sitting next to a blonde woman who does not resemble his wife, First Lady Melania Trump, or his previous wife, Marla Maples. The woman's face is also blacked out. So they put this out. This is the real picture. Now, he's got his tie loosened and he's sitting next to a woman who wanted to take a picture with him. He doesn't have his arm around her.'s not touching her. He just slightly, you can check the lean. She's leaning towards him. But what is the accusation we're going to get from this? That he was cheating on his wife with this lady? And then we got a creepy picture of Epstein in a bathtub. We have, this is Epstein and Steve Bannon. An image of Epstein with Steve Bannon. This is Epstein? This doesn't look like him. Revealed that the convicted pedophile kept a photo of a lounging woman on his personal desk. Now, I can't even really see what's in that picture. And that doesn't barely even looks like Epstein. That is Steve Bannon, though. Former President Bill Clinton was also seen in what appear to be pictures taken of earlier photographs. About 70 more images were released Friday night showing the disturbing photo of naked Epstein lounging in a bubble bath. Where is the ones of Clinton? See, why don't they have the ones with Clinton in the article? Kyle Rittenhouse got married too. I thought I had one more article about these pictures. That's the only one I have. I don't have a collection of all of them. I haven't seen all of them. I'll look at them later. But anyway, I just wanted to show you what the media is doing, how they're releasing these files, and who's doing this, by the way. Who's redacting these faces in the media? Or is the media doing this? Why are they? It's all being used to make Trump look bad. You notice they don't even put the pictures of Clinton on the thing. It's just Steve Bannon, Trump, dumb. All right. Next, another update. So, homeboy Arturo Gamboa, the guy that got shot at the No Kings thing here in Salt Lake City, that was carrying the gun, he spoke for the first time. He said, it doesn't matter my religious or my political views. Doesn't matter what I believe in. I have the right to exercise my First and Second Amendment, and that's what I was doing that day, peacefully. And I was shot for it, and I was arrested for it, and I was treated like an animal. And he's saying it's racism. I said on the Facebook post, I was like, I don't agree with probably 95% of this dude's worldview, but he's totally right here, and he's going to get paid. He's going to be suing the state. He's going to be suing somebody for wrongful imprisonment, for the way he was treated. He's going to get a paycheck. Arturo Gamboa, the man arrested following the deadly No Kings protest shooting, is speaking out for the first time. I was treated as the perpetrator of a mass tragedy event, Gamboa said during a press conference Tuesday. I was treated as a psychopathic villain. According to Gamboa, who is accompanied by attorney Greg Skordas, I think that's a very popular attorney out here. His treatment since the shooting has been inhumane. I did not shoot anybody. I did not fire a single shot, he said, adding that the peacekeeper, Matt Alder, was the only person who drew their firearm, aimed it, and fired it into a crowd of people. Facts. According to a press release, officers were flagged down as bystanders pointed out an AR-15 style rifle near where Gamboa was hiding, along with a gas mask, black clothing, and backpack in close proximity. Following the shooting, police said interviews indicated Gamboa was seen walking away from the crowd and slipping behind a wall. Peacekeepers told officers they found the behavior suspicious. One of the men said he saw Gamboa remove an AR-15 style rifle from a backpack and begin to manipulate it. This prompted the peacekeepers to draw their firearms. Unless multiple of them pulled guns out, that would be new to me. In order to stop Gamboa, order Gamboa to drop the weapon. Soon after, peacekeepers reportedly opened fire, striking Gamboa and fatally wounding Afa Alu. So he spoke up. He said, I think there are a lot of people that owe me an apology, that owe my family an apology. Alder, the peacekeeper, was recently indicted on felony charges. What is this quote from? I spent 4 days culling through dozens of media reports, videos, and eyewitness accounts. All of the evidence confirmed that he was lawfully and openly carrying an unloaded firearm on a public road. He never brandished it, never fired it, never pointed it in the direction of anyone. He was shot in the back by a man who needlessly shot 2 innocent men, killing one of them. He spent 6 days in jail, shackled and leashed. He was given 2 Band-Aids, one for his bullet's entry wound and one for the exit wound. No surgery, no stitches, and nothing but over-the-counter pain medication. Arturo has no criminal history whatsoever. He is a United States citizen, born in the United States to U.S. citizen parents. He's an honest, hardworking man who would do anything to help his fellow man or woman. He's an artist and a man who cares deeply about his community. When I met with him in jail, he cried for his parents, hoping he had not brought disrespect to them. I hope he hasn't lost that passion for life after 6 days of being treated like an animal. So, and he said, I would like to see whatever the desired outcome is of the Afalu Gambo. Outcome is of the Alu family, Gamboa said in the upcoming case against Matt Alder. I'm somebody who desires change. Anyway, so, yeah, he's going to get a paycheck. He's going to get paid. What else we got? Not don't. Mom from Fox, Zora Mamdani is starting to appoint people. Mamdani appoints convicted armed robber to public safety transition team. My son Lennon served 7 years for armed robbery convictions in the late 1990s. Taxi driver holdups. Well, if you're going to make public transit free, you know, it'd be good to have a guy who's a professional taxi robber as your safety transition team, public safety team. Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani has chosen a formerly incarcerated rapper to serve on his City Hall transition team as he prepares to take office in New York City, according to reports. The controversial selection comes as Mamdani, who won November's election on a progressive platform, assembles his transition team. So he got a felon taxi robbing rapper to be on his safety transition team. This is my son Lennon served 7 years for armed robbery. This is a testament to our decades of work advocating on behalf of Black and brown communities and our expertise in gun violence prevention, legislative advocacy, and criminal justice reform. We are building something different. And now this guy's an activist. Okay. Wow. Awesome. Speaking of Democrats in positions of power, Miami gets his first Democrat mayor, woman. I think the first woman mayor ever in Miami. First, and you know, they always got to tell us when it's the first woman. Too bad she's not a woman of color. It'd be double points. But first Democrat in 28 years. First woman ever, I believe. Miami Democrats can now add a major city in Donald Trump's home state and one set to host his future presidential library to its list of cycle election wins. This is this is democraticmayors.org, but I think they're just reposting Politico here. In a Tuesday runoff, Miamians elected Eileen Higgins. Eileen Higgins sounds familiar. She looks like Jane Castor as mayor, the first woman in the city's history to hold the job and the first Democrat in 28 years. Higgins, a former county commissioner, defeated Republican Emilio Gonzalez and an ex-city manager who had the endorsement of Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis with 60% of the vote. Miami chose a new direction, Higgins said during her victory speech at the Miami Women's Club. You choose competence over chaos, results over excuses, and a city government that finally works for you. Blah, 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 blah. Well, despite the race's partisan themes, Higgins, a mechanical engineer and former Peace Corps director in Belize, often shunned partisanship in interviews and instead ran a campaign focused on how she would make city governments work better and to foster and faster to help alleviate residents' affordability issues. So, I mean, potentially she's not a radical. I don't know a lot about her. She's a woman. She's a Democrat. So hopefully she's not too extreme or radical. Generally, they are. The white women Democrats are the ones that are subversive. They'll come in secretly and start doing some commie gobbledygook. Whereas a guy like Zoran Mamdani's just like, no, I want this felon to be on my public safety transition team. Oh, Lord. What's Politico saying about this? What Democrats flip in Miami means for 2026. Higgins' campaign advisor, Christian Olvert, said the victory showed voters wanted to get back to united communities and addressing kitchen table issues. We have a +5 registration advantage in Miami, but we overperformed to an 8-point turnout advantage. That shows it can be done, Olvert said from Higgins' victory party at the Miami Women's Club in Edgewater. It also reinforces what Commissioner Higgins has been saying all along. When you show up and get the work done, voters stand up and stand with you every day. Higgins' campaign is likely to be studied carefully by other Democratic hopefuls in Florida. She ran not on social justice or culture war issues, good move, but on improving affordability and making government work better. Good plan, good strategy. She agreed with Republicans that the city's finances needed a careful look. Okay. So, hopefully she's not horrible. What's this about socialists? Republicans, meanwhile, will face questions after Tuesday's results, including on how motivated their base is and whether they're losing grounds with Latinos. Well, because a lot of them are getting deported. A central issue is whether it'll continue to be effective to label Democrats as socialists at every turn. Well, they shouldn't. Then they don't need to, openly admit to supporting socialist policies and call us fascist. Stop that, and maybe we'll stop calling you socialists and commies. Till then, you are socialists. If you're openly doing socialist shit. Given it didn't seem to have hurt Higgins, in interviews with half a dozen GOP volunteers over the last month, there was also disagreement over whether it had been a good idea for President Donald Trump to endorse in a nonpartisan race. Why nonpartisan? Why? They were both Democrats? I thought the other guy was a Republican. How is it a nonpartisan race? Democrats have to live somewhere, as much as we would prefer they don't. Anyway. All right, get ready to shield your eyes, ladies and gentlemen. Next story. Enough of the Democrat stuff going on. Midterms are coming up, so, a year. But this next year is going to be midterm run-up time, so, we're keeping an eye on this stuff. But let's get off of the politics for a minute and look at some culture. What's going on in the culture, boys and girls? Creator Bonnie Blue arrested. Get that picture off my screen. It's inappropriate. Bonnie Blue got arrested. She was driving a bang bus around in Bali in Indonesia, where it's not a good idea to be making pornography. She got arrested. She was looking at 15 years in prison. Now, apparently, She's been released. She's back in the UK, and all she got was banished. She got like a 10-year banishment from Indonesia. She's not allowed back in Indonesia. I was hoping she was going to get 10 years in prison in Indonesia, but she just got banished, and now she's bragging, and it's crazy. Somehow she still has the footage, allegedly, of what she recorded in Indonesia, and now she's using this publicity. No publicity is bad publicity. She's using this publicity to push her OnlyFans and to sell her content. And all she got was banished from, she can't go back to Indonesia. But she still has all the footage. It says, adult content creator Bonnie Blue has returned home to the United Kingdom after being deported from Indonesia, where she was arrested for allegedly making X-rated content. Blue, 26, arrived in England, and on Law and Crime, they were talking about this. They said if they deport her back to the UK, the UK does not have to transfer her there for court or for anything like that. So she's just basically banished from Indonesia. That was her only punishment. She said, I'm rich and have good lawyers. Did you really think I'd face jail time? Blue, real name Tia Billinger, said in a statement, from sharing fluids with barely legals to watching my content with corrupt men, let's just say I'm excited to show you what got me in all this trouble. It cost me $20 to get out of prison, so I need to recuperate my huge losses. If you want to see what got me deported, you can for less than my fine. So she's selling her OnlyFans, and she's going to like gain money and popularity off this. This is crazy. You thought I was doing 15 years in the hole, but I had 15 fill mine instead. What a nasty woman. She wrote via Instagram December 12th alongside a video lip syncing to the sound. I think you know what it's about to go. Wow. Anyway, enough of that. But now she's going to get paid off of this incident. The Tates are in the news with Barron Trump. Apparently, Barron Trump liked watching Andrew Tate. And so now the media is blowing this up. Because apparently Trump maybe helped get Andrew Tate pardoned. And Barron Trump liked the manosphere, you know? He's a Chad. He was watching Tate. Investigation delves into the Tate brothers and their connection to the Trump family. This is 7 minutes long. I'm not watching this. And I don't want to read a transcript. A new report from the New York Times reveals how the Trump administration and members of the president's family may have been involved in a larger movement in conservative circles to support Andrew and Tristan Tate, right-wing influencers charged with rape, human trafficking, and other crimes. I don't want to watch I don't want to read the transcript, but
OC Tanner Jewelers.
Crap. No, we're not watching that. Anyway, so basically, Barron Trump was watching some manosphere red pill content, and they're freaking out about it. Okay, this is what do I got? This is the last story. Rob Reiner and Michelle Reiner found dead. And then this is from CNN, but then this newer article from New York Times says their son was arrested. Suspected homicide. Their son, Nick, 32, was booked for murder in connection with the killing, according to Los Angeles Police Department. Rob Reiner, 78, popular sitcom actor.
Why don't you just make 10 louder?
Princess Bride and Spinal Tap.
Number and make that a little louder.
Michelle was a photographer. So I guess the son is the suspect right now. Nick Reiner is responsible for the deaths of his parents. Legendary Hollywood director Rob Reiner and producer Michelle Singer Reiner. Los Angeles police said the couple's daughter discovered them in their Brentwood home yesterday, according to a source. The 32-year-old son was seen having an argument with his father at a holiday party Saturday at Conan O'Brien's home. According to a source familiar with the incident, he was booked on suspicion of murder, is currently being held without bail. Rob Reiner's prolific work included directing When Harry Met Sally, The Princess Bride, and A Few Good Men. Dang. And his son killed him.
I'd do anything.
Okay, they're going to run an ad here. It's a 1 minute till the ad comes up. So that's crazy. His son got him. That's sad. I'm going to leave you guys to watch The Chair for a second. My tummy's gurgling. I'm going to play the Chair song. We got through all the news pretty quickly. Well, actually, probably before I do the tariff review and we do some boring stuff, looking at the effects the tariffs have had so far and the graphs. Before we do that, I'll probably look at this Brown shooting also, because I didn't grab anything for that this morning. I had barely even heard about it with the Australia thing and the Syria thing. I missed this Brown shooting. So we'll look at that. But first, you guys are going to get some Chair, and I'll be right back.
Lost from the swamp, Florida heat. Moved to Utah, chasing deceit. Eyes on every woman, can't look away. Simping his life, wasting the day. Dinosaurs built the pyramids, he claims. Nukes are lies, his mind's aflame. Delete the folder, Josh. Grace ain't yours to keep. Delete the folder, Josh. A twerk haunts your sleep. Delete the folder, Josh. Let obsession rock deep. Endless clips, grace in his eyes. Worshipping moves, truth in disguise. Chasing shadows, never enough. Lust consumes, his heart is rough. Dinosaurs built, they built the stone. Nukes are fake, I'm not alone. Delete the folder, Josh. Grace ain't yours to keep. Delete the folder, Josh. A twerk haunts your sleep. Delete the folder, Josh. Let obsession rock deep. Endless clips, grace in his eyes. Worshipping moves, truth in disguise. Chasing shadows, never enough. Lust consumes, his heart is rough. Dinosaurs ruled, they built the stone. Nukes are fake, I'm not alone. Delete the folder, Josh. Grace ain't yours to keep. Delete the folder, Josh. A twerk haunts your sleep. Delete the folder, Josh. Let obsession rock deep. Delete the folder, Josh. Delete the folder, Josh. Delete the folder, Josh. Let obsession rock deep. Josh.
Okay. Let me find, where do I want to start? Do I need this? Probably don't need this in here. All right. Archer. So first, we're going to look at tariff trackers. Well, no, first we'll read, just going to read this from BBC. I thought I had some videos in here.
The Fed cut rates again this
Trump's $2,000 tariff rebate check. Oh, yeah, we're going to look at this potential $2,000 check. But what tariffs has Trump announced and why? This is from November 5th. So just to update ourselves on what he's done so far. And then we'll look at the tariff tracker. We'll watch this video about the rebate check. And then we're going to look at our tariffs typically considered socialist, specifically Trump's tariffs. This is like partial debate prep. I have a debate this Thursday with Fabian Liberty about, is Trump the most socialist president in the last 33 years? And I believe his best argument is the tariffs. And I may have to just give a concession and say, yeah, you're right. That's the most socialist thing he's done. Leans the most socialist. Maybe I'll have to concede this. I don't know yet. I'm going to try to find a way to argue that it's actually capitalist, which I think there is an argument there. But first, we need to see what all he's done and check into this claim that he got 18 trillion so far from tariffs, because that's different than what some of these tariff trackers are telling me. So from BBC, what tariffs has Trump announced and why? U.S. President Donald Trump has introduced tariffs on goods reaching it from countries around the world. Trump argues that the move will boost American manufacturing and create jobs, but critics warn of higher prices and damage to the global economy. So what I understand is that a tariff, you're charging for countries to import things into America. This cost, usually 60% of it goes towards the producer, 40% of it goes to the consumer. So it will cost more if you're buying stuff shipped in from foreign countries. But if you're buying things American made, then those things will get cheaper. And Trump argues that this will incentivize a lot of these companies left America due to high taxes, due to these eat the rich retards on the left. Democrat policies, companies were leaving. Companies were migrating out of America. It was an exodus. They were going to Mexico. They're going to China, and they're building their companies there. They can get cheaper labor, and then they just ship things in. Trump's saying you're not going to do that anymore. You need to bring those companies back here. And so we see companies who were American but left coming back to America. And then we see foreign companies coming into America. This increases jobs. This nationalizes our production, localizes it, gets it all in America, which eventually will lessen the cost of the goods, and it creates jobs. That's the argument for the tariffs. So, it could lead to more benefits in capitalism. But the argument that it's socialist is saying it's government involvement in private companies. And I would disagree. I think if you're putting a tariff, you're not putting the tariff on those companies. You're putting tariffs on countries. And so it's not getting involved in the private companies, it's getting involved in the countries. And then the countries have the choice to move their production to America, which boosts our capitalism. And I think all my arguments are just going to be that this is not socialism, it's crony capitalism. The cronyism here is all the companies that choose to come to America and build and produce, they're the cronies. They're the ones who get the favoritism from the government. But the favoritism isn't directly to those companies, it's to them because they came to America. Since you came to America, you're going to reap the benefits of that. So at worst, it's crony capitalism. All of it's crony capitalism. Trump saying he's going to get involved with Walmart. Trump saying he's going to get involved with the steel manufacturing, and that's Harley Davidson threatened to get involved with Harley Davidson. Intel, 10% of Intel purchase. All of this, at worst, is crony capitalism, if not just capitalism. Leans towards becoming like the oligarchies, monopolies, and all that stuff. That's extreme capitalism. That's not socialism. The U.S. Supreme Court is also considering whether tariffs are illegal. What are tariffs? How do they work? Tariffs are taxes on imported goods. Typically, the charge is a percentage of a good's value. For example, a 10% tariff on a $10 product would mean a $1 tax on top of making the total cost to $11. Taxes paid to the government by companies bringing in the foreign products. Taxes paid to the government by companies bringing in the foreign products. These firms may pass some or all of the extra cost onto their customers, which in this case means ordinary Americans and other U.S. businesses. They may also decide to import fewer goods. So an argument against the tariffs, the big argument that the big problem people have with the tariffs is the erratic way that Trump has been doing it, where companies they don't want to buy anything. They're just sitting on stuff. They don't want to make any moves because they don't know tomorrow there might be a big tariff, and then the next day it might drop down, and they don't want to make any moves. That's one of the problems that's coming from the tariffs. People say maybe Trump should have done like a rollout plan and had everything scheduled and said, this is what's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and then it happens that way. But rather, I've watched videos and stuff where chip makers and computer guys, computer companies in America, like that build custom computers and stuff like that, they're saying, we're just sitting on our inventory and we're not buying anymore because we don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs. And that's one of the big complaints people have at the way Trump rolled it out. Not so much that there are tariffs, but that how he rolled it out was kind of disorganized. Trump says tariffs will increase the amount of tax raised by the government, encourage consumers to buy more American-made goods, and boost investments in the U.S. This is all true. He wants to reduce the U.S. trade deficit, the gap between the values of goods it buys from other countries and those it sells to them. The president argues that the U.S. has been exploited by cheaters and pillaged by foreigners. Agree. Trump has also used the taxes to make other demands. For example, when announcing tariffs against China, Mexico, and Canada, he said the countries must do more to stop migrants and the illegal drug fentanyl reaching the U.S. Facts. Many tariffs have been amended or delayed after being announced, and that was one of the problems. Trump's tariffs have faced numerous legal challenges because of the way they were introduced. Instead of getting congressional approval for the tariffs, the Trump administration used the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act. Declaring an emergency under the law meant Trump could issue immediate orders and bypass the established process. Yeah, as soon as you call something an emergency, you can do you can do whatever you want. Just call it an emergency. I guess the left would argue as soon as you want to kill somebody, you just call them a terrorist. Yeah. As soon as you want to get something done, you just say there's a state of emergency. In August, the U.S. Appeals Court ruled that most of Trump's tariffs were illegal, but left them in place. The White House asked why'd they leave them in place if they're illegal? The White House asked the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn that decision, and it began hearing the arguments in the case on November 5th. The final outcome is not expected for several months. What are Trump's tariffs on individual countries? China and the U.S. threatened tariffs on each other's goods of more than 100% in the months after Trump took office, but extended a truce until November 30th of October. After meeting President Xi Jinping, Trump said the two countries would sign a trade deal pretty soon. He announced an immediate end to the part of tariffs levied on Chinese goods over concerns about Beijing's failure to stop the flow of ingredients used to make fentanyl. However, it is not clear which other duties will remain or at what level. Yeah, China is making the I always forget the word. Precursors. China's making the precursors for fentanyl and shipping them to Mexico, and they're bringing them across the border. Fuck them. Tariff they ass. Canada is facing a 35% tariff on its goods. A lot of people complain about that. Although most are exempt. Because why are we shipping wood from Canada? We got wood in America. I'm telling you, we got wood in America. Existing United States free trade agreement. That's why all the wood's crooked in Home Depot. I blame Canada. Affected the blanket 50% levy on imported metals and 25% on non-U.S. automobiles. So metals. So wait, we're not tariffing the wood? We still getting the wood? We're still getting wood from Canada? No, we just tariffed the steel. But see, this is blanket 50% levy on imported metals. You're putting the tariff on Canada and what they can ship in. It's not a specific tariff on companies. It affects companies directly, but it's not like he's reaching into those companies and doing it. That's why it's not socialist. It's more of a nationalist thing, which is more right-leaning. See, I think what it gets down to is basically this is somebody's way of saying that Trump is a Yahtzee. You say he's a socialist, and then I say, well, he's a nationalist, and then they say, well, he's a national socialist. Mexico is facing 30% tariffs on its goods, plus the sector-specified levies and a 25% fentanyl tariff. So we're knowingly shipping fentanyl, probably the medical grade stuff. Are we shipping that in from Mexico? There should be 1,000% tariff on that. However, like Canada, Most of its goods are exempt. Or is that a 25% tariff on top of the regular tariff just because fentanyl comes from Mexico? I guess that's what that's saying. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum said she and Trump had agreed to extend this deadline by a few more weeks. A patchwork of different rates is in place for other countries. Many of these stem from Trump's announcement in April that a baseline of 10% would apply to imports from all countries. Nations considered the worst offenders would face higher ranks as payback for unfair trade policies. New tariff rates for dozens of countries were subsequently introduced in August after delays to allow for trade talks. These include 50% tariffs on Indian goods, including a 25% penalty for trade with Russia. Okay. 50% tariff on Brazilian goods, 30% tariff on South African goods, 20% trade on Vietnamese goods, 15% tariffs on Japanese goods, 15% tariffs on South Korean goods, 15% tariffs on most EU goods. Then the UK tariff deal was a big thing. I want to look at this tariff tracker. We have a couple of them here. Trump's 2.0 tariff tracker. According to President Trump, let's look at this. Okay, according to President Trump, tariff is the most beautiful word in the dictionary. Throughout his presidential campaign, Trump promised to use this from Reed Smith, the TradeComplianceResourceHub.com. And then I also have one from bipartisanpolicy.org. On August 29th, the Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit affirmed the Court of International Trades, CIT, holding that fentanyl and reciprocal tariffs. So fentanyl is mentioned a lot in these tariffs. Fentanyl and reciprocal tariffs, executive orders are invalid as contrary to law, and vacated the CIT's permanent injunction that universally enjoined the tariffs enforcement, remanding for the CIT to further evaluate the propriety and scope of injunctive relief in light of the Supreme Court's decision in Trump v. CASA. The Federal Circuit stayed its ruling pending further appeal by the government. The Supreme Court heard oral argument in the pending appeal on November 5th. This is relating to them saying that they're illegal. So all countries implemented reciprocal tariffs effective April 5th. Amended June 16th. Baseline may be replaced by country-specific rate below. De minimis exemption suspended. Threatened reciprocal tariff rate. See, and I don't really know all this stuff. I'm just looking at it. Ad valorem rate. Oh, how do I go back? Okay. Transshipment penalty implemented 40%. And this is for all countries. Additional DSTS. So the threatened, these are the ones that have been implemented as in green, and the ones in red are the ones that they're trying to challenge as illegal, I believe. Additional DSTS to be determined. Secondary Russian origin goods threatened to start September 2nd. When was this last updated? 100%. Afghanistan implemented 15%. Algeria implemented 30%. Angola 15%. Austria to be determined. Bangladesh 20%. Bolivia 15%. Bosnia and Herzegovina. Anyway, I want to so this is what I was looking at. He's saying 18 trillion, which I'm going to read the fact check on that here in a minute, but from bipartisanpolicy.org, as the Trump administration changes existing tariffs and pursues new ones, there is significant interest in how much revenue tariffs are raising. The following charts are updated most weekdays to reflect the most up-to-date information available, sourced from the U.S. Treasury Department's daily Treasury statements. As of December 9th, the U.S. has brought in $261 billion in revenue from gross tariffs and certain other excise taxes in 2025, billions above levels in recent years. So We can see 2017, 2018, 2020, 2024, 2023, how much tariffs we bring in. Usually it's 43 to 109 billion. So far this year, we've taken in 261 billion. That's gross tariff. The net tariff is usually 80 to 85% of that. So 80% of 262, that's the gross tariff profit. An important caveat is that the above data represents gross tariff and certain other excise tax revenue. Emphasis ours. Net tariff revenue, which removes certain other excise tax revenue and accounts for refunds or tariffs, is not available in real time as it is reported only on a monthly Treasury statement. Net tariff revenue in recent years has been 80 to 85% of gross tariff and certain other excise tax revenue. Net tariff revenue was 80 to 85% of revenue from 2017 to 2014, but is 90 to 96% of revenue in 2025 and 2026. Gross tariff and certain other net tariff. Net revenue. Nonpartisan scoring organizations like the Joint Committee on Taxation also typically account for an income and payroll tax offset to excise taxes, including tariffs of around 25%, which reduces the total revenue derived from excise taxes. In other words, $1 of excise tax revenue will lead to a 25% decline in income and payroll tax revenue. This effect is not reflected in the above chart. Why this matters? Tariffs bring in revenue to the U.S. government. To the extent new tariffs bring in significant revenue, they could reduce federal deficits and debt. Tariff policies will also influence short and long-run business decisions about investment and hiring, which may impact other tax collections and spending. Changes in business planning can also impact import volumes. The chart below shows the monthly import values delineated between goods subject or not to tariffs as a share of total imports, and tariff revenue generated as a share of total imports into the United States. Tracking this data may provide insight into the impact of changing tariffs on businesses' decisions and planning, which can affect the U.S. and global economy. Now, I want to look at this fact check because Trump is saying we've taken in $18 trillion. Trump says tariffs have brought in $18 trillion. That's impossible. This is Yahoo doing a fact check. In recent weeks, President Trump has inflated his previous claims about how lucrative tariffs have been for the United States. Trump's new figure, an astonishing $18 trillion, then repeated it December 3rd in an interview with Politico. He also brought it up impromptu and somewhat bizarre during the announcement on December 4th of a new peace treaty. Rwanda. On Sunday, Trump revisited the $18 trillion claim while speaking to reporters at the White House. Because of the tariffs, we've taken more than 18. Think of this, $18 trillion. There's never been anything like it. Moments later, he repeated the claim, stating that we took in more than $18 trillion in 10 months. That figure is utterly fantastical, and Trump's explanation is more than a little confusing. First, it's necessary to swat aside the most outlandish interpretation of this claim, one that is being made by some of the president's supporters, including some prominent conservative media personalities. They seem to believe that Trump is saying the federal government has collected $18 trillion in tariff revenue this year. That is both factually wrong and logically absurd. Start with facts. Over the first 11 months, the federal government collected $236 billion in tariffs and duties. So that aligns with now, see, I see 262 billion. They're saying 232 billion, but basically that's the number that I'm seeing. So I'm wondering where he's getting this 18 trillion from as well. And I don't trust what Yahoo's going to tell me, by the way. There may be a better explanation for why he's saying 18 trillion than whatever these fact checkers are going to tell us. In fact, Trump tariffs are expected to generate about 2.3 trillion over the course of the next decade if the Supreme Court doesn't strike them down or Congress or some future administration doesn't undo them. According to the Yale Budget Lab, that's 10 years of higher tariffs, and the total is still nowhere near 18 trillion. Logically, getting $18 trillion in tariff revenue in a single year is impossible. The U.S. imported about $3.3 trillion of goods last year. You'd have to tax those imports at nearly 600% to get $18 trillion in new tariff revenue. Of course, if you taxed imports at that level, you'd end up with roughly the same amount of imports as tariff revenue, zero. So no, that is not happening. Part of the confusion here is the carelessness with which the president uses phrases like "we took in." Is he talking about the government? If not, then what? Unfortunately, this tendency extends beyond talking points. The Trump administration has repeatedly and intentionally blurred the line between government and the private sector, and that seems to be what is happening here too. This is one of the arguments for why Trump's tariffs are socialist, because he's blurring the line between the government and the private sector, the government getting involved in all of these private businesses. That's what one of the arguments is, that this is socialist. When Trump says we took in, he seems to be referring not to tax revenue from the tariffs, but a combination of tax revenue and various investment deals that have been promised by private businesses and foreign governments. Those investments are not being took in by the federal government in any way. So, okay. So he's saying because of the tariffs, countries are trying to bring their companies here. They're making investments in America. He keeps doing these things where he'll have all these rich people from all these other companies saying, we're investing $300 billion. We're investing $500 billion. We're investing $100 billion. We're building our companies in America because we don't want to pay the tariffs. And he's saying those investments into America and those companies coming here, the money that we're making off of that is where he's getting this $18 trillion from. For the president, however, one might also wonder if they will actually materialize when the money will actually be spent, or whether such investments would have occurred even without Trump's tariff threats. For the president, however, such distinctions and considerations are not a factor. Still, after accounting for all of that, Trump's $18 trillion figure seems to be wildly exaggerated, even when compared to the Trump administration's own numbers. As of Monday, the White House official tally is $9.6 trillion. How do you get there to $18 trillion? Only the president seems to know. So I'm not sure what he's thinking. He'll have to explain it, and I'm sure he'll respond at a later date. Somebody will ask him about that. So whether it's $230 billion, $9 trillion, or $18 trillion, is it socialist? Now, first we're going to watch this video about the $2,000 tax rebate check. Is this socialist giving out free money like stimulus? Could be argued that. So, I'm trying to steelman the best argument that Trump is a socialist, and the tariffs seem to be the strongest argument. So, let's watch this video about this rebate check.
And signal that they will cut just one more time in 2026. What are the chances that the Fed might end up not cutting again, or even have to hike rates next year? How likely is a significant fiscal priming ahead of the midterm elections next year? What is his only path? And what does it mean for your money?
So he's arguing here that Trump's using these rebate checks to get Republicans to win the midterms.
December is when Wall Street pretends to see the future and investors pretend to believe it. Pretend or not, where do I stand on the 2026 outlook? For whatever it's worth, my outlook for next year is predicated on 3 predictions. 1, I still believe the AI bubble will burst next year. I went through my reasoning in detail last week, so I won't rehash it here. The bottom line is that I think intensifying competition will force the market to reassess the expected returns on the ongoing AI-related CapEx spending. This prediction is the rationale behind my 530 steepener position in my short NASDAQ.
Just get to the part about the rebate checks.
Versus long Nifty 50 position. 2, I believe the war in Ukraine will finally end in 2025. Check out this video from 2 weeks ago if you're interested in my arguments. But I believe it will be difficult for Ukraine to sustain its war effort with rapidly shrinking U.S. military and financial support. The draft budget for the Pentagon for fiscal year 2026 and 27, released earlier this week, provides only $400 million for the Ukraine Security Assistance Initiative, a fraction of what Ukraine needs to keep fighting. My prediction that Ukraine has no choice but to accept Trump's peace plan is why I've established a short position in the December 26 Brent futures. A deal will see the lifting of sanctions on Russia.
This is financial stuff. I just want to hear his take on the tariffs. I mean, on the here we go, on this rebate check to win the midterm.
Invested in this midterm, so much so midterm to help his party retain. To me, that Trump will continue to cast a long shadow in 2026. To me, the million-dollar question is what Trump will do to help his party retain its congressional majorities in the upcoming midterm elections. As I argue in a previous video, even though Trump's name is not on the ballot, he has a lot invested in this midterm. So much so that Trump's chief of staff said this week that he will campaign next year like it's 2024. But campaigning will not be enough to carry the Republicans. Odds are almost always stacked against the president's party in midterm elections. Indeed, the president's party has lost seats in the House in 20 out of the last 22 midterm elections.
Dang. And see, they act like when a red president or a blue president wins the election and then midterms come around and the other side wins most of it, they act like, oh, it's a blue wave. It's a blue wave. The country changed. Dude, it always does this. It's just the way it goes.
Trump needs to pull out a big gun if the Republicans were to prevent a blue wave. And he will have to do it very soon. This is because if his approval rating keeps falling, he could soon become a liability than an asset for his party. Trump needs a big boost to his approval rating right now. And what would it take? In my view, the only thing that could save the Republicans from a blue wave in 2026 is Trump's idea of a tariff rebate. The rebate is more than just pre-midterm fiscal stimulus. It can fundamentally reshape the political economy of protectionism by turning households into beneficiaries of tariffs rather than victims.
Hold on. I gotta write this down. Tariffs.
A tariff rebate. The rebate is more than just pre-midterm fiscal stimulus. It can fundamentally reshape the political economy of protectionism by turning households into beneficiaries of tariffs rather than victims. In doing so, it could flip the inflation narrative.
What did he say there? Turns households into beneficiaries.
The political economy of protectionism by turning households into beneficiaries of tariffs rather than victims. In doing so, it could flip the inflation narrative, blunt Democratic criticism, and make Trump the sole channel through which households feel relief. Politically, the idea is a slam dunk. The problem is that Trump cannot do it without Congress, and the idea is already running into opposition from fiscal conservatives. Several Republican senators said over the past 2 weeks that the tariff revenue should be used to pay down debt instead of towards a rebate. In the House, Speaker Mike Johnson, who shepherded Trump's big beautiful bill through Congress, is facing open rebellion from his own caucus. And Trump certainly cannot count on the support of the Democrats, who won't want to give him a political win before the midterms. So how is Trump going to push through the tariff rebate?
The big, beautiful bill. Why are they all 3 Bs? Big, beautiful bill, Build Back Better.
Trump made news on November 25th when he suggested that it may be necessary to extend the Obamacare premium subsidies that are set to expire at the end of the year. This was a bit rich, even for Trump, given his refusal to extend the subsidies was why the U.S. had just gone through the longest shutdown in U.S. history. But maybe there's more here than meets the eye. In my view, extending the Obamacare subsidies may be the only viable path to making Trump's tariff rebate a reality. Maybe Trump sees it the same way. Imagine a new reconciliation bill that extends the Obamacare subsidies by 2 years and sends a $2,000 check to every working American household earning less than $75,000 a year. Extending the Obamacare subsidies is Democrats' #1 policy priority right now. If this is on the table, many Democrats would negotiate, especially Senate Democrats facing tight races. The fiscal hawks among
This sounds bad for my side of the argument. Extending Obamacare in order to push through a tariff rebate check makes a lot of Democrats happy, lets him get his tariff check through so that families get happy, seems bipartisan, does seem a little socialist in order to win the midterms, is what he's saying here. If we put, I want to get my tariff checks to these American families before midterms, get them some money. They're like, the only way we can do that is if you extend Obamacare for 2 years, which we've been trying not to do, Trump. Now we're going to do that, send these checks out, make people happy, win the midterms. That's the plan that I see here. Does it seem a little socialist? Sure, yeah. Can I argue for it and support it? Is it worth extending Obamacare to get a $2,000 check? I don't think so. Would I like getting a $2,000 check in the middle of 2026? Heck yeah. Is it and it's going to pull us out of inflation? American families are going to get some of the money back from the tariffs. It reverses the inflation trend, which actually inflation's being declining. So it's been leveled. It hasn't got back to where it was like pre-COVID, pre-Biden, but so is this a benefit at the cost of extending Obamacare for 2 more years? If he can get, I don't know. I'm going to have to think more on that.
Republicans will likely oppose the bill, but my guess is that the centrists will fall behind Trump very quickly. Many Republicans want to avoid health insurance premium hikes before the midterm. The tariff rebates will also help answer the affordability question that is likely to dominate the debate before the midterm. To placate the fiscal hawks, Trump could offer to close certain corporate tax loopholes and cap discretionary spending growth. I can even see Trump offering to use the tariff revenue to fund part of the extension of the Obamacare subsidies. I don't underestimate the challenge of getting such a bill through both houses quickly, but I would give it a 60% chance.
And also, this is just his predictions. Like, this hasn't been said that this is what Trump's going to do, or this isn't like a sure thing. This guy's just predicting that this is what might happen.
To it getting done before the midterm. A major risk to my prediction is if the Democrats somehow manage to enlist enough Republicans to extend the Obama.
Yeah, that's what some people are arguing, Dean, and I think I kind of agree. I don't care so much about the debt. I think the debt's funny money. I say just borrow from them and never pay them back. Fuck them. But like, who are we borrowing from anyway? China? Just take their money and don't pay it back. Ever. I don't care, but the debt's imaginary to me. I don't know. I mean, I know it's important, but like, yeah, $38 trillion. Like, I don't know.
Obamacare subsidies before they expire in less than 3 weeks. However, my gut says that Trump will do everything to kill such a move. Mike Johnson told reporters on Wednesday that GOP leaders will bring a vote next week on a health care bill that does not include an extension of the subsidies. Trump knows that failure by Congress to extend the subsidies before the deadline will create an opportunity for him to offer his big, beautiful bill number 2 as the only way out. The Fed cut this week, but signaled a pause. The question is whether this cut was the last cut for a while, or there's more to come. Powell said at the press conference that the Fed's key rate was now close to a level that neither restricts nor stimulates the economy. He also said inflation could move higher early next year as more companies pass on the tariff costs to consumers as they reset prices to start the year. Finally, the Fed revised up its 2026 GDP growth forecast to 2.3% from just 1.8% back in September. All else being equal, a tariff rebate in the order of $200 billion would push GDP growth easily over 3% if it gets done quickly. All else being equal, it will also push inflation higher. All else being equal, a significant easing of U.S. fiscal policy next year will warrant higher and not lower rates. I stress all else being equal only because my view that the AI bubble will burst next year. I see a bursting of the AI bubble being the biggest downside risk to rates and the dollar, and the tariff rebate as the biggest upside risk to rates and to the dollar. A tariff rebate would be bullish for consumer stocks, while a bursting of the AI bubble would be bearish for tech stocks. I think consumer staples may very well outperform tech next year, but timing...
Consumer staples may outperform tech next year. That's interesting.
Of course, will be crucial. But my guess is that Trump cannot afford to wait too long before he goes all out on his rebate idea. Time is not on his side for once. Thank you for listening.
Interesting. Okay. So he's trying to push the rebate through, considering extending Obamacare as a way to do that, what this guy calls the Big Beautiful Bill 2, which I got to do some more research into the Big Beautiful Bill, brush up on some of that stuff. But I want to read these articles. So, like, just Google the characterization of Donald Trump's tariffs as socialist is a subject of intense debate among economists, politicians, and commentators. While tariffs are historically a tool of economic nationalism, that's what I said earlier, some argue that certain aspects of Trump's trade policies resemble government intervention and central planning, which are hallmarks of socialist or command economies. Government intervention. And this is what Scott will be arguing. Government intervention. But tariffs are usually considered nationalist. Economic nationalism. Typically a sign of economic nationalism. The heck? Sorry, 1 second. I'm taking notes. Critics argue that imposing high tariffs and simultaneously influencing prices or granting bailouts to affected industries like the multi-million-dollar aid packages for farmers hurt by retaliatory tariffs are forms of government intervention that distort market realities. Economists like Friedrich Hayek and Ludwig von Mises, known critics of socialism, argued that such interventions are the fatal conceit of central planning and lead down the path of socialism by installments. Hold on 1 second. Okay. Wealth redistribution. The farm bailouts were a direct transfer, and now he would argue that this is taking in the tariffs and then giving out a rebate check is socialist because it's wealth redistribution and it's centralized governments getting involved in private markets and altering the natural capitalism of those private markets. Farm bailouts. Some economists suggest that by telling corporations what they can and cannot do, e.g. controlling supply chains through tariffs, the policies evoke the practices of a command economy. But I would argue that this is a nationalist thing. You're imposing the tariffs on countries. And they don't have to pay the tariff by importing stuff in. They have a choice. They can build a company here. And then they can invest into America. So this is economic nationalism, not socialism. Proposals for a tariff rebate or dividend to American consumers have also been described as a government handout, resembling a nationalist and socialist policy aimed at mitigating the price increases caused by the tariffs themselves. See, I told you, it's just a way to say it's national socialism, basically. Arguments against the socialist characterization. Economic nationalism / protectionism. Yep, I wrote protectionism over here and economic nationalism over here. Tariffs rebate, not just fiscal stimulus. It turns households into beneficiaries rather than victims. This is protectionism and economic nationalism. Tariffs are traditionally associated with protectionism and economic nationalism, which prioritize domestic industry and jobs over the principles of free trade. These policies have a long history in the U.S., dating back to figures like William McKinley, and are generally distinct from the core tenets of Marxist or internationalist socialism, which emphasize collective ownership by means of production. Exactly. That's an important paragraph right there. I need to memorize that answer. Lack of collective ownership. Socialists and Marxists argue that Trump's tariffs are not socialist because they do not aim to put means of production into public or worker ownership. Instead, the policies primarily serve to benefit a capitalist oligarchy. Yes, this leans more towards crony capitalism, monopolies, oligarchies, nationalism, protectionism, not socialism. Instead, the policies primarily serve to benefit a capitalist oligarchy and align with a far-right anti-worker agenda. I would agree with that. Capitalist chaos. Some left-leaning critics argue that Trump's application of tariffs is an attempt to manage the inherent contradictions of capitalism through a chaotic... Inherent contradictions of capitalism is one of the key things that Fabian Liberty used in his definition of socialism. He wrote, when the state intervenes in the market to fix the presumed contradictions of capitalism or the inherent contradictions of capitalism. But leftists would argue that it's a mafia-style altering of the market, which is not socialist, but rather far-right. Far from planned socialist system based on solidarity and rules. It's more like mafia-like. So even people on the left would say it's not socialist. Because if they want socialist, they're saying Trump's not doing it the right way. They're calling it capitalistic chaos. Capitalist chaos. A mafia-like approach. And these are what lefties are saying. In summary, the use of socialist to describe Trump's tariff is primarily a rhetorical device used by critics to highlight the policy department. And this is exactly what David Pakman did. This is what Fabian Liberty did in his debate with Pentuple. He's basically calling it socialist as a rhetorical device. It's like a literary device. It's like you're using a word, and this is what Pakman said. He said the right defines socialist in the wrong way, and based off the right's definition of what socialist is, Trump is acting like a socialist. Scott is using a proprietary definition of socialist, and using that definition of socialist, he's saying that's what Trump is. But by any true metric of what socialism and Marxism really support and really work toward, Trump is not that at all. And these tariffs, this may be the closest thing you could try to twist into being socialist, but it's not. It's protectionism, it's economic nationalism, it's crony capitalism. If anything, it leans more towards oligarchy and monopoly than it does socialism and nationalism. So that's that. And then there's I wanted to read this. Iowans for tax relief. This is from October 2nd of 2025. Are tariffs socialist? President Donald Trump has stirred the hornet's nest with his preference for tariffs. The president has even described the word tariff as one of the most beautiful words, blah, blah, blah. President Trump's protectionism is the most controversial. For many within the conservative movement, tariffs are a betrayal of free market economics and a rejection of the true spirit of Reagan conservatism. Further protectionism is often assumed to be a policy favored by progressives and socialists. It is argued that those who support President Trump and protectionism are not just embracing socialism, but have lost their economic compass. Free market philosophy holds that trade always benefits both sides. While protection, but free market philosophy says that, but it's not doing that. You could say that, but if it's not doing that, we do something that leans slightly more toward socialist, but it's not socialist. It's not more socialist than some of the blatantly socialist things that Obama and Biden did. While protectionism represents government interference in the marketplace, picking winners and losers and imposing an unjust tax on consumers. Picking winners and losers is crony capitalism. The consumer in this view should be the main focus, and it does not matter where goods are produced. Trade isn't about countries, it's about people. When Americans buy clothes from Bangladesh or semiconductors from Taiwan, both sides benefit. Blocking trades with tariffs is like trying to grow prosperity by taxing yourself, argues Vance Ginn, an economist and visiting scholar at Iowans for Tax Relief Foundation. This philosophy can be summed up as what is good for the consumer is good for the nation. From this perspective, trade is really about obtaining the cheapest products for our consumers. For the people, if the result is the loss of manufacturing and related jobs, that is a fair exchange, wrote former ambassador. Remember, these are socialists writing this. Wrote former ambassador Robert Lighthizer, who served as United States trade representative in the first Trump administration. In other words, cheap televisions trump American factories. Lighthizer contends. Cheap televisions trump American factories. Ugh, Lord have mercy. But we are not simply consumers. We are Americans. We are fellow citizens. We are neighbors. We have duties to one another, argues Patrick J. Buchanan. Free trade advocates also argue that nations should follow comparative advantage, meaning a nation should specialize in producing what it does best and then engage in trade. From this perspective, it does not matter that the United States depends on other nations for semiconductors, pharmaceuticals, and other necessities. Manufactured products or agricultural commodities can be produced elsewhere more efficiently and at a cheaper price. For example, it should not matter that the United States relies on Taiwan for semiconductors, even though that dependence could potentially draw us into a military conflict with China. It doesn't matter that, so we could spend a little more money, make better quality, and make them at home, and not have to ship them across the ocean, which it's funny, the environmentalists, you hear them silent about energy used for AI or all the carbon emissions used to ship semiconductors from Taiwan to America or ship things across the ocean from other countries that we could just make here. And maybe in the short run, it's a little more expensive, but it's better quality. And we're not potentially getting into a war with China. They brush over that like that's not a big deal. Going to war with China would not be cool. That would not be a good thing. Another common defense of free trade is that it causes only temporary creative destruction or disruption. Workers may lose jobs to trade agreements, but in time, the market will adjust and create new opportunities. During the era of globalization and free trade, policymakers in both parties argued that American workers would benefit and that the world would become more democratic. Corporations thrived under these so-called free trade agreements, but communities in the middle class across the nation suffered. We lost 5 million manufacturing jobs, over 60,000 factories as cheap goods flooded our market from countries like China, noted Ambassador Jameson Greer, who currently serves as President Trump's United States Trade Representative. As Greer explains, the creative destruction did not reset the economy, it just left wreckage. How long is this? That's pretty long. We'll read the whole thing, and then that'll probably be it. There is one more. Fair trade versus Trump's tariffs. What's the socialist response? So this is pretty long. I'm not going to read both of these. I'll read this one in the morning, not on stream, but I'll read this myself. Bourgeoisie trade theory. Paul Krugman, who has a Nobel Prize on the subject, asserts international trade begins with a demand for a good or service that a nation cannot or desires not to supply for itself. Marx would probably disagree and emphasize the role of production, including the relations of production and availability of labor, the level of technological development, and what is made available by the natural environment as essential in determining trade relations between nations. I'll read this one later. I probably should have started with that one, but lifeblood of our conservative society do not switch from making steel to making semiconductors. In far too many cases, they went from being vibrant manufacturing ecosystems and hubs of production to concentrations of welfare, poverty, and in many cases, widespread despair. Creative destruction is the antiseptic term free traders use to describe what they have done and are doing to the America we grew up in, wrote Buchanan. When a factory shuts down and a town begins to die, workers are laid off. The local tax base shrinks, education and social services are cut, and folks go on unemployment and food stamps. We all pay for that. Wives go to work, kids come home from school to empty houses, families break up, and social disintegration follows. The question remains, should conservatives continue to support free markets? The answer is yes, and doing so is not a contradiction. Supporting tariffs or protectionist policies does not mean having to also reject trade or abandon limited government principles. Tariffs, when properly understood, do not oppose trade. Rather, their goal is to ensure that trade agreements serve the interest of the nation first, protecting American manufacturers, workers, and farmers. History shows this balance is possible. President Calvin Coolidge, for example, cut taxes, reduced spending, and paid down the national debt, all while supporting tariffs. The real danger lies not in free markets themselves, but in turning free market theory into an ideology or an end in itself detached from the national interest. Now this sounds like a ITR Foundation. This sounds like a pro-tariff thing that is saying it's not socialist. Limited government policies remain central to conservatism, but supporting trade policies that reduce sovereignty and cause creative destruction runs counter to conservative principles. For conservatives, the economy is more than just consumer choice. It is also about family, community, and nation. Conservatives also often emphasize the importance of culture, and economics is part of that culture. As conservatives, it has been drilled into us to lament that politics is downstream from culture, but consider culture itself is downstream from economics. If we want a conservative culture, we need to create a conservative economic system, argues Greer. So this is saying this is nationalist and this is conservative to tariff these countries that are taking advantage of America, not because it's just about the money and it's about how much things cost, but because it's about our nation and our culture and our families, making sure that our families have the good jobs and have the factories instead of all the factories going to other countries and we just have the leftover stuff. We should be able to make these things and support our culture and do it in the way we want to do it in our country. And we shouldn't be held victim to these other countries who are taking advantage of us through trade because we're relying on them. So it's not socialist to support tariffs. It's economic nationalism, protectionism, capitalism, and conservative in that it protects our nation and our family and our country and our people. Doesn't let us be taken advantage of. It's not just about the price of things. And I would not look at it as the government getting involved in the directly into the private businesses, but rather the countries and the people and the cultures of those countries. We're not tariffing the business, we're tariffing the people in the country because we want to support our people in our country. Six viewer crash out win, enjoying AI psychosis. What are you talking about? You're an idiot. It should be a priority for conservatives to preserve strong families and communities and to support policies that encourage wages sufficient to sustain a strong middle class. This is why a production economy is more important than one centered solely on consumption. A production economy is oriented around production rather than consumption as an end in itself. Such an economy emphasizes a larger middle class that makes and grows rather than a small elite that extracts, reallocates, and squanders. Production. Tariffs create production economy. Rather than consumer economy. Tariffs for culture, nation, and family. I have scribbles and stuff all over the place. This is the most disorganized debate prep that I've ever done. So far, I have like 3 pages of arguments that he's going to make and rebuttals for them, but I don't have any idea of what I'm going to be saying or my opening or anything. I have to write that tomorrow morning. Finally, conservatives must also be concerned about independence and sovereignty. President George Washington and Treasury Secretary Alexander Hamilton both warned about the dangers of U.S. dependence on foreign nations. Yes. Dangers of U.S. dependence on foreign nations. Sovereignty. Sovereignty is a weird word to spell. Hamilton argued that it was essential to render the United States independent on foreign nations for essential supplies. Greer even noted that Thomas Jefferson, often cited by free traders and libertarians, warned against industrial dependence on foreign powers in the lead up to what became the War of 1812. So I can quote Hamilton or Jefferson for this to point to why the tariffs are not socialist. Many free trade agreements create international bureaucracies that strip sovereignty from the Constitution and the American people, as Ambassador Greer explains. For years, the appellate body at the World Trade Organization nullified every American attempt to protect its workers and guard against the rise of China. Over multiple decades, foreign interests and their U.S. allies have undermined America's efforts to ensure our goods are treated fairly. President Trump was also correct when he argued that for decades, the United States was taken advantage of, even by allies, in trade deals. Other nations use tariffs, value-added taxes, currency manipulation, subsidies, and other tools to protect their markets. How can we have a conservative economy, conservative culture, or conservative policies if we don't have a sovereign country that controls its own destiny? Asked Greer. In 2001, members of both parties celebrated China's entry into the World Trade Organization. They argued that granting China most favored nation status and opening our markets would benefit our economy and democratize China. Democratize China? The opposite happened. China did not democratize, but it did exploit our open market. The United States began running massive trade deficits with China, and it is estimated that Iowa alone has lost close to 34,000 jobs to China. Meanwhile, China built up its military and launched a global expansion, becoming our top national security threat. China is not only a growing military power, but as retired Brig General John Adams argues, they now hold the U.S. defense industrial base in the palm of their hand. For example, Adams notes that more than 80,000 parts used in America's weapons system are manufactured with critical minerals subject to Chinese control. They got that rare earth. We could get rare earth from Ukraine. This leverage extends beyond defense into the broader American economy. In Iowa, China's retaliation against Trump's tariffs, refusing to purchase additional soybeans, directly impacted farmers in the state's economies. What would Hamilton and Washington think today of our dependence on foreign and even hostile nations for necessities? Whether it is critical minerals, pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, or high-tech products, the United States is dangerously dependent on China. Sovereignty also means resilience. A country which relies on its adversaries for all of its medicine, critical minerals, and semiconductors cannot be said to be fully independent, argues Greer, echoing Hamilton and Washington. Finally, it's worth noting that free trade is a classical liberal and libertarian philosophy, but it is also one embraced by progressives. Often forgotten is that the Republican Party, with roots in the Federalist and Whigs, was historically the party of protectionism. From Abraham Lincoln through Herbert Hoover, Republicans supported tariffs. By contrast, Democrats and progressives such as William Jennings Bryan, Woodrow Wilson, and Franklin D. Roosevelt promoted free trade and liberal internationalism. Interesting. So there's a good argument against, because he's going to say Trump is redoing FDR stuff. And so I could point out that the tariffs, actually FDR would have not supported the tariffs and would have supported more liberal trade and free trade. It's not just a capitalist. Free trade isn't the same as the free market when it's international free trade. That's liberal internationalism. Even President Calvin Coolidge, a hero for many free market conservatives and libertarians, defended protectionism. My observation of protectionism is that it has been successful in practice, however unsound it may appear to be in theory. That must mean the theories have not taken account for all the facts, he wrote. Let me look up something real quick. Protectionism is an economic policy where government restricts international trade to shield domestic industries from foreign competitions. So I just have to argue that the tariffs are a form of nationalist economics and protectionism, not socialism. Coolidge was not an ideologue. He believed in a conservative philosophy that prioritized the good of the nation above rigid economic theory. He is an example that conservatives can still support tariffs while believing in constitutional limited government. When it comes to trade policy, the end goal should be putting America first. So this is not written by socialists. I thought this was written by a socialist. This is actually rebutting the claims, so this is good. We read some things supporting it. Now this is arguments against it. When it comes to trade policy, the end goal should be putting America first. Americans are producers first, consumers second. Production economy versus a consumer economy, again. Good jobs, high wages, and strong families should be the objective of trade policy. Productive American businesses can make profits under rules that prioritize our workers, farmers, and communities, wrote Lighthizer. So that's a good, that gives me a lot of good ammunition. So now I'm going off. Now his best argument that the tariffs are socialist. This gives me good rebuttals to that. All his other stuff, the thing with Harley Davidson and Intel and Walmart, that's just crony capitalism. That's easy. The Intel thing, easy to rebut. Even Cenk would argue that that's not socialist. So really the closest thing is like the tariffs and these potential rebate checks, but I can point to how this is not socialist. So this was good. I'm glad I read that. But that's all I got, guys. Tomorrow morning I gotta write tomorrow morning I gotta start writing. I gotta write that whole debate opening. I have an idea of what I'm gonna do. It's going to be like a two-part opening. The first part's going to be defending Trump against all claims that what he's doing is socialist, all the best claims. I'm going to predict what his claims are going to be. Not really predict because we've watched him do the debate before, but what his best arguments are going to be, and I'm going to rebut those in the beginning of my opening and defend Trump. And then I'm going to offer a counterclaim, and I'm going to say, here's why Obama is the most socialist president. So then I can go on the offensive. That's the plan. We'll be doing that debate Thursday. Tomorrow morning, I probably won't be streaming unless I just stream while I write. But those are always really boring streams because I really need to focus on writing it. So I might not stream while I write it. Maybe we'll get a Bible study stream in this week. But for sure, the next time you'll see me will be Thursday night here and on Speakeasy's channel debating Scott Fabian Liberty about, is Trump the most socialist president in the past 33 years? He's probably my toughest opponent yet. Toughest person that I've debated, at least in a formal debate. Maybe on, like, I've debated Rob on like VK and stuff, but a formal planned debate, Fabian Liberty is going to be my toughest opponent yet. And it's in one of my weaker topics. Economics is not so much my thing, but I know enough about socialism and Marxism, and I know enough about capitalism. I'm not great with the numbers and all that, and understanding all the intricacies of economics and taxes and mortgages and stuff like that. It's kind of like a weak point of mine. But I'll do what I can do. So I'm good at research. So that's the plan. But thank you guys for watching. God bless you. And Christmas is coming up. After the debate this Thursday, I'll do VK on Friday, and then Saturday I'm flying out. So next week is going to be crazy. I'm not sure about the show plans next week or how we're going to do next week because I'm going to be on vacation, but I'll still do some streams and stuff, so I'll still see you. But this week, for sure, the next time I see you will be the debate. Otherwise, I don't know. But thank you guys for watching the show. If you like it, tell a friend. If you hate it, tell everybody. It's been the Dreaded Conservative Show, Monday night, kicking the week off right. As always, let me find somewhere to send you to. Either Easy or the Crucible. If the Crucible, he was doing a debate earlier. We'll go to Speakeasy. But thank you guys. God bless you. Have a good night. I will see you later. We out. Peace.